Okay, okay. Sound on. We can hear people. DRI is revealing our guests early, and I do not appreciate that. And one last thing I get here. Two things, actually. See, now I'm not as prepared as I thought. But welcome in, everybody. I appreciate you stopping by. It is our second AAPI panel and charity stream. I am so excited we can do this again. And this is our first year doing it, so it's like, bam, it's like part two already. Amazing. Imagine having all of my sources like prepared, accessible. Gonna be me. But since they're here anyways, let's get them into the proper chat. First we have Hellfiber. Welcome in, Hellfiber. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Our next guest is ESB Taiso themselves. Hi Taiso. Welcome in.
Hello.
Go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Yo, what's up? How are you doing?
And then last, but most certainly not least, the wonderful Safiria. And welcome in, Safiria.
Hello, hello.
If you did not tune into our first AAPI panel, what we are going to do here is discuss various topics about just being an AAPI person, and then we'll get into more of like the VTuber side of it. But it's very general questions all in all. There are some serious questions at the end. Um, if you feel like you're not comfortable with answering any of the questions, serious or not, feel free to pass on them. We are going to do a free form kind of discussion, and yeah, kind of try to go with it naturally. Trying to make sure that all the details are done before we begin, and I don't have to interrupt and stop and do something midstream. Um, One other thing I should probably mention is that we are still raising money for the Asian American Drug Abuse Program based in Orange County, California. So far, we were able to actually reach all of our stretch goals in our first stream, which was beyond my way beyond my expectations. Super awesome. Um, that being said, I came up with a second set of goals and stretch goals for today's stream. The incentives are the same as the first stream. Basically, every dollar donation will get you a personal praise. A $5 donation, you'll be able to write a tweet in my name that I will just post. No disclaimers, nothing, but just has to be TOS safe. A $10 donation will get you a custom Discord role in my Discord, and a $20 donation will get you a custom chat command in my chat. If you are feeling so charitable and are able to give anything, please use this Tiltify link, and it will send you to the official Tiltify website where you can safely donate through PayPal or other means. And there will be a little alert that pops up, and you will, all of the donators should show up on screen. If not, I have like 3 different places I can check to make sure that all the donations are noticed, acknowledged, and honored. And should we hit our goals, we can unlock various types of streams and events. First $20 goal is nice and simple. Chat makes a redeem that I will create and just keep on for the remainder of my stream career until for some reason I feel like I don't want anymore. But it'll be on for a while. 540 will get us a community movie night, which chat can choose the movie as long as it's again, within reason, nothing too crazy or edgy. Then 560 will get us an MS Paint art stream. I have never done an art stream in my life. I am not an artist. I do not claim to be an artist, but I will try to draw chat the best I can if we unlock that. 580 will get us to a community game night where we can play things like Jackbox, Among Us, Goose Goose Duck, all sorts of community games. Even things like Gartic Phone for those who might not have the other games I mentioned. Then 600 is for our first $100 goal for this stream. It will be chat chooses my next batch of emotes. We can go over and discuss it and literally decide what types of emotes, and maybe we can even talk about artists that people want to recommend. And I will, of course, just get it done, get the commission myself and have that rolled out as my tier ones as soon as possible. Then if we do hit our stretch goals, which again, I am not expecting, if we do, it's going to be amazing. And also kind of bittersweet because I did think of things that would be a bit challenging for me. The first stretch goal is a great example of that. If you've ever tuned into my older streams, I had a bit of an Undertale spree and never beat Sans despite spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours trying to defeat them. If we get to the first stretch goal, I will completely reset my genocide run and attempt to do it again as sweaty as possible so I can actually beat him. I know it's a skill diff. Don't rub it in my face, but we will try it. Second stretch goal is going to be a crowd control stream. I have never done crowd control either. It's going to be a first time for me, so we can also discuss what kind of games we unlock and how chat wants to torture me with it. 900 will unlock a 12-hour stream while I can invite guests and even chat onto games, much like a community night, just more on stream. And then, of course, a little bit of solo in between, because I don't know if I can do a 12-hour community stream, but it'd be cool if we did, regardless. And then the final stretch goal, if we get to that big 1,000, I will get a straight up art commission with a lucky donator using the same wheel of names that I did last time for my raffles. Again, between me and the winner, we will discuss the artists, what we want to do. Of course, it's going to be safe for work. I don't know if we discuss NSFW, but I'm not really comfortable with doing that with strangers. Yeah, and then basically I'm going to try to make it as high quality as possible, find a really great artist, and make it worth everybody's while. With that out of the way, we can continue on with our questions. Unless anybody else would like to say something before we continue.
Oh, sounds good to me.
I will take your silence as compliance.
Same.
All right. Myself set up with the first stream question here. The first one is easy. How do you identify with AAPI? Basically, was like what about your heritage relates or is under the AAPI umbrella. Me personally, I am part Japanese through my Palauan heritage, so a little bit slice of both sides.
Should we just go down the line? Should I go first then?
It's basically whoever would like to go first. It's basically free form, so whoever wants to speak first, and then if I'll just basically check to make sure everybody's had their moment to speak on it, and then we'll move on.
Then I'll go first since I opened my mouth. So, I actually, for a lot of my stuff, I actually have a kind of a lacking in the knowledge entirely. All I know from childhood and everything is that I was adopted very young, and I am, in fact, Korean. So, from some mixture of Korean genetics from the city of Seoul, I got yeeted and skeeted all the way over to America. So here I am.
That is really interesting.
Let's go.
Like, yeah.
Me specifically, my family comes from Pakistan, so and India as well. So they came over here like 30 something years ago, and then years later, I came along. So a lot of my a lot of my background is a mix of American culture from how I grew up, and then Pakistani culture and Indian culture from my family.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am Thai American. My mother comes from Thailand. She came here to America at like 14 years old. So, second gen, been living here for a while. And I routinely go back to Thailand every now and again to go visit certain family that is not in America.
Very nice. Very nice. Hey. Second question: what does AAPI Heritage Month mean? Now, with this one, it is definitely more of like, what is your relationship to the month itself, or like it's, you know, like what it stands for at all. So like, to be honest, to start, like I didn't really know much about it at all growing up, especially as like a kid. It wasn't really until I was like maybe in college and even just like in the most recent years that I knew about it and even wanted to like do anything about it or like knew that anybody else did anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But since I have, it's been great just to know that there is at least some dedication to, all of our heritages, cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's been kind of cool to just like this, try to honor that a little bit.
Yeah. For me specifically, growing up, I didn't really know much about it either. Um, and now that I'm an adult and have kind of like, obviously taken time to look in not only my own like background and things like that, but to look more into AAPI month and things like that. It's just for me, it's a personal month of like representation because growing up, um, obviously you guys are probably also where the representation was lacking. It still is to some degree. And so just having a month that represents us and our different cultures and things like that means like the world to me, just because we get that representation to some degree now.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, when growing up, like, I was in an interesting position where I understood from the fact that I knew I was adopted and everything. So, like, I grew up with American parents and family and stuff. So I never really like thought about it too hard. So I was just like, oh, like I know that's where I'm from and I'm comfortable with that, and it's never bothered me or anything else. So I felt like really blessed about that. But at the same time, I was also like, man, I could have gone this whole time, and some people would have never realized I was like Asian. I I have this friend, an old friend from elementary school. Our school did autobiographies during fifth grade, and I kid you not, I knew this guy from like third, fourth grade all the way up until high school. And the freshman year of high school is when he told me that, oh, so you are adopting. I was like, yeah, you met my sibling. How did you? They literally had zero idea that they clicked in their brain in fifth grade that I was Asian. They're like, oh,
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. Who are
yeah.
you?
Yeah, so just finding out now that with AAPI month and seeing creators do stuff like this, and it's just like, oh, that's really nice. It's just a feel good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely with AAPI month, I've gotten to see a lot of Asian American creators. I'm really thankful for this month because I've met a lot of new friends. I've gotten to share a lot of things about my culture and my background and where I come from, which usually um, I don't get a chance to bring up any of those topics. So it's really nice, and being able to share that with everybody else, and learning about them and them learning about me, and then connecting on that.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Thank you. Next question is, what is one way your heritage has shaped you as a person? A very broad question, I know, and you're free to just like whichever way that you think is important to you or just like proud of or anything. Um, I feel like my heritage has shaped my life in a lot of different ways. Definitely love the cuisine side of it and love the food that I've grown up with. It's definitely a great way for me to connect with my culture, and there is definitely like a lot of unique parts of it. Fun to share that and being able to share that with other people in ways that they love too, because our food's awesome.
God, give me some of that. I live in the backwater sticks and can't get good food. Help me.
I will cook for you.
Airdrop me some food, gamers, please.
Working on it right now. Yeah, no, I will say definitely cuisine side. Uh Same here. A lot of the cuisine. Although I will say nothing beats home cooked. Cause like I'll even go to like Indian, Pakistani restaurants and they dumb down the spice so much.
Ooh.
But I come from a family full of people who love spice like so much. And so I will definitely say like the cuisine, the cultural clothing, um, and things like that as well. It's just like the being able to, sorry, brain go burr, being able to kind of show off your heritage in ways like that with like the different clothing, food, and the music and all that stuff is just a very great aspect that I think um I share a lot IRL, not as much, online, that I think would be cool to show off online as well. But yeah,
Yep.
no.
Well, I mean, I definitely know that from growing up in the Bible Belt, and also being raised Buddhist, that it definitely has shaped my viewpoint that is very different from my peers and the people around me. I definitely feel like my heritage has made me look at life very differently than a lot of other people that I grew up with different backgrounds. And that's always an interesting conversation too. Just being a little bit confused since everyone around me grew up Baptist, and then I was like the one kid that like grew up Buddhist. Like, where do you go on Sundays? Well, I go to temple. This is it like church, and it's like it's just strange to people at first. It's definitely shaped my viewpoint, how I interact with people. Um, in a very interesting way, I'd say.
That- That's all really cool, and that's and of course those are all just one aspects of all of us, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, hard to say almost what shaped people as part of their heritage, but yes, thank you for that. Next question is, what about your heritage brings you joy? Just think about it, and it's just like kind of like like puts a little smile on your face, or just makes your day a little better. Just thinking about something. Um, so like I said, I'm part Palauan, and in Palau, they have a lot of like natural reserves, or
Hmm.
and like protections for their reefs, by waters, a lot of the animals that are unique waters around Palau, and it's even like in our constitution on like tourist passports, like with passport stamped Palau, you're also like agreeing to like a little agreement, or whatever you want to call it, um like be like aware and acknowledge the efforts that everyone's put into serving the land and everything like that, and that you're gonna do your part to try to that up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I think one thing that basically because of how I grew up being adopted and being somewhat distanced by it, not by like choice by my parents, it's just like they often asked stuff, but it's something that myself, I was just like, I think I'm okay. I'll find out when I need to or when I want to. And I think that's kind of part of how I grew up is that I wanted to be interested and dive only into the things that will actually like ignite something in my brain that says, "Hey, no, this is what you want to be interested in right now." And I figured eventually it'll just something will spark and something will find that. And I think a lot of times now it's keeping it still alive in a lot of ways is seeing how many people can connect and fall in love with K-pop. Like, I know it gets a bad rap sometimes, but a lot of people falling in love with the music and performances and everything like that. I'm a huge like just idol junkie and a bunch of like music and stuff like that, and I love seeing that people can connect with something on a like a passionate level like that. And I think that's really the biggest thing that gives me joy is just something that a culture that is a part of me ignited in somebody else. It's really nice to see that.
That is
Okay,
really cool.
I think it only really gets a bad rap because it's mainstream now.
It really
Like,
does.
but that's the only reason. Otherwise, if you've like followed K-pop for a long time, most people love it and don't find anything, bad about it. But now that it's mainstream, people will be like, "Yeah, it's not that great." It's like,
It,
okay, like you can have your preference or whatever, but
it's going through like a
Yeah.
hipster phase almost. Like it's
yeah,
Yeah, that's
cool, but it's
entirely what it
K-pop.
is.
Yeah.
like this is the meta. I'm gonna do the opposite of that.
And
um,
meanwhile, I'm just over here. It's just like, yeah, no, it's just music.
just bopping or
It's
vibing,
like every culture has its bangers. Everyone does not.
Oh,
Literally.
100%. Yeah, don't get me started on like Bollywood music and stuff like that. Same thing. Um, but for me personally, I think I get a lot of joy out of like cultural celebrations and like cultural weddings. And things like that, like everything that's centered around like our heritage and just like the difference cuz like um our cultural weddings for instance are like a four-part thing. There's the henna ceremony, there's like the actual signing of the papers, there's like the actual like wedding, and um then there's like the after like reception type thing, but they're all on different days. So there's like it's just like a four-part thing.
That's
And mind you, it gets very exhausting, I will say. But just, everyone comes out in beautiful like precious like cultural clothing, and they're all dressed up and jewelry and just looking absolutely fabulous and celebrating two people. And then it's like same thing with like any sort of cultural like celebration. Everyone just goes all out, like dressing up wise and everything. And it's cool to see like everyone come together and just like peacefully exist.
yeah.
And just over cultural food, and you're chilling out and you're just having a good time and everyone's just enjoying. It's just really nice to see like like those types of celebrations and everybody just coming together and celebrating the way that we do.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to agree on my culture. Celebrations are a lot of fun. Like New Year's is a lot of fun. It's like a
Mhm.
giant like water like fight for real. Like
I
it's
love
like
that for
water
you.
guns, yeah, like water buckets and stuff like that. Just throwing them around. Really good vibes. Kind of a cleansing ceremony.
Mhm.
But I was more interested in shooting people with water guns. But yeah, or hitting or
I just
pelting
love the thought of a
people.
I love the
Always
thought
the
of a
fun.
cleansing water bucket and a cleansing water gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like that, or like pelting people with like the not permanent dye, but you can hit them with like the dye balls and stuff like that. People will drag you out of tuk-tuks and spray you down with water. It's a lot of fun, and the lantern festivals are really nice too. So I know that um here in my small town that we still have like a lantern walk festival. It's not as brilliant as casting them into the sky with candles, but it's very nice to see that represented here in such a small small town.
Mhm.
Definitely cool. Sometimes, especially for certain people, like, you have to go to the next major city or something just to find something, relative to culture.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, they don't have any representation for your culture at all.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, damn.
Me living in the backwater sticks of the country. Please, someone find something, please.
It's
Someone-
okay.
Why is
My
the closest option DC?
my my family is the only like Muslim Pakistani like Indian family in this town, and you have to go at least 20 minutes out to find another one of us.
Oh god.
So yeah, I get it.
Next one, again, very kind of like generic question. A lot of the next ones are going to be pretty have like big umbrella. And
Mhm.
again, just answer how you fancy.
Mhm.
What is your favorite thing about your heritage? And just to give a little bit of a spoiler, the next few questions will be about like food, music, movies, traditions, things like that. I'm not saying you can't answer with those, but just a thing like to keep it. But when I say favorite thing, I just mean I just tried to be generic so I didn't like pigeonhole the question itself.
Mhm.
Um, like sorry, brain also burring on my part for this one.
You're fine.
But like there's just like yeah, like there's so many things that like I love about my heritage. Choose a certain one. One thing that I think is in history lesson two is that a lot of the Palawan Islands were used in, like the island hopping strategies back in World War II,
Mhm.
and to this day there's still like tanks like that still on the islands, and
Mhm.
but I just kind of love how like we were literally kind of just like on and stepped over, but we our advantage and like turned it around and flipped it. Now we're essentially making money off of it. I love that. I just love that like kind of like take your battle scars and like kind of use that to like uplift yourself later.
Oh yeah. I'm just trying to rack my brain.
Oh no, it's too open ended.
Yeah, Bringlebur. Um, um,
Like I said,
hmm.
if food and media and stuff like that is some of your favorite things, please don't like stop yourself. Like even if you like just keep next questions, it's okay.
I will
Yeah.
say like our culture is very like almost directly tied to like our religion as well. So I think one thing that I like about it is that when we pray, we literally all pray together, like shoulder to shoulder. Everyone is praying together, and it's
Okay.
just that unity, like that unity of your heritage and the people that you celebrate that heritage with praying in unison. And when one person has any sort of thing going on, the whole community comes together.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think trying to rattle my brain into how to phrase this because for it to make sense, and it's I think my favorite part is just seeing how much like the perception has changed and how like celebrated so many parts of like Korean culture and like just overall Asian culture in general has always just been like either just like kind of moved to the side for like things like anime and cartoons and stuff, but now you start to see as things get moved along and things we have stuff like Parasite, and when it came out, that went absolutely insane for literally everyone on the planet on Netflix and everything, and I was just like, oh well shoot, I was like, oh, all of a sudden there's just more things in like the just the public eye that made it so like nice to see more of the culture just be like on display for the rest of the world to see that like, yeah, no, we got game, like we can play.
Right, right. And no, that's very well
Mhm.
said. Parasite definitely I feel like did help shift that paradigm. Then all of a sudden, yeah, like the Western audiences started to turn more towards Eastern, yeah, especially yeah, in the Korean sector, and that is cool to see because there is definitely something to say about Eastern media, and that's again a very general term. I know there's like you can go into
Right.
every single culture and like they have their unique differences, but just Eastern versus Western. Like even like very small tangent, if I may. I'm like a big horror movie fan too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And the differences between an Eastern horror movie and a Western horror movie is just like two sides of a coin. I feel like very
Yeah, just
similar,
Very
night
but
and
different.
day.
yeah, night and day too. Exactly, like same cycle, but
Yeah.
like almost like like polar opposites almost.
Similar but distinct.
Yes.
Like there's definitely like a very distinct difference between the two, but they are also it's hard to explain because it's like they're very similar, but they are the way that they portray things is very distinct and different.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I feel like Western horror is very much visually stimulating, lots of
Mm-hmm.
shock value. I feel like Eastern horror is like I'm gonna screw with your mind and make you
More
afraid.
story, yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
gonna linger in the back of your brain until you cannot stop thinking about it until you have to watch something else to make you
You're
think
gonna
about
have
something
trouble
else.
sleeping at night.
You're gonna
Keep it
rethink
in
your
your mind.
relationships with a lot of people after this movie. Like, gotta ask
I
some
think about
questions and touch bases.
Yeah, I think around that same time when Parasite was coming out, I think was also started the shift for other media where people started talking more and more about manhwa. I was just like, wait, we have like full color manga? How the heck does manga get away with being in black and white when manhwa is coming out every week in full color? Excuse me, how?
Yeah, it's marketing, really. No,
It really is. And it's working. It's worked really well.
hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Oh, geez, that's a really big question. Um, favorite thing about my heritage. I really do enjoy that how old it is, that there is a lot of history that I can go through and learn about. As well as if I wanted to study poly, I could as well. Um, but it's nice to have something to look back on. It's nice to have history to know where I come from and where it's ended up today. Because I mean we've been through a lot, so it's really interesting and it's cool to see where we get ghost stories or where we get superstitions or why we put certain watts or temples in certain places. Um, and we can always look back on those texts. We care a lot about making sure that those stories are passed down, not necessarily written down, but at least passed down. And it's really cool because like I feel like each family has a set of stories that they enjoy and like to tell over and over again. We have a great time, or at least my grandma and a lot of the elder people in my family like to repeat things constantly. I hear the same story every day, all the time at every function. So it's a lot of fun, but it also impresses me because I think the repetition is really important for actually remembering it, especially if it's passed down like orally instead of being written down.
Absolutely, it's definitely a different effect. Awesome, thank you very much. And Raska, guest on our previous chat, and they had a very interesting question. They're wondering if everybody knows a ghost story from everybody's culture.
I do not.
I
I
actually
spend
don't
way too
either.
much time playing video games to know ghost stories.
Yeah, I don't
Oh
know
man.
any either.
So yeah, I definitely don't know any on as far as like the Palauan side goes. I have heard tons of Japanese ghost stories, and the only reason why I hesitate to like tell any is because I've heard so many iterations of them that sometimes I forget like am I telling the original or am I telling like this person's version of it and I'm thinking it's the original. Um
That's understandable.
so like for example, uh gosh, now none are coming to my mind. But I do know that one, like, I was gonna say like one story that I thought was like a Junji Ito story, but I do know I have a reverse example of that, like a Junji Ito story I thought was like an actual traditional ghost story. Um, Not so interesting, that one, and definitely not one. Probably, everybody. I feel like not everybody, but a lot of people know Junji Ito, and trying to think of something that's actually more like at least a couple hundred years old. But usually, ghost stories in Japan can range anywhere from like spirits of women who like haunt wandering travelers, things like that, women dressed in white, um even as goofy as like having ghosts that are literally like walking butts with eyes. So it can kind of be all over the place as far as Japanese goes.
Oh yeah, Japanese ghost stories are really cool. We do have quite a few. I mean, I still have like a warehouse. Okay, I say a warehouse, but it's like a garage full of like ghost story VHSs. I feel like ghost cinema is really big to Thai people. I don't know why, but like my grandma loved to traumatize me as a kid by making me watch these VHS tapes of like flying headlong type ghosts. I think the
Dang.
one that I liked the most was like this like ghost that like hops around on like one leg and he like sucks the blood out of your toes
Yo,
if you're not careful.
not my
Um
toadies.
yeah,
Bro,
it's like giving them
Stop it.
grippers. I'm like, no.
Ah!
But
really
yeah,
says,
it's
"Give me the grippers."
yeah, like it's scary. Like I think a really good like uh digestible modern thing, since we are gamers, I assume most of us are gamers, is Home Sweet Home
Mhm.
on Steam.
Ooh,
Um
yeah.
yeah, it's I showed my mom that and she was like, "Oh, hell no." Cuz like especially
Oh,
with the giant skeleton,
Oh.
it's
Yeah.
like nah, we're not doing this today, dude. And it's
I do not
cuz
claim any
like
negativity from this video
yeah,
game.
she was out of the room, she was out of the house, she was gone. She was in the garden when I was playing that game.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, like it's like if you don't like you're not good to your elders or your ancestors, apparently they can turn into giant skeletons and then make your life a living hell, which is really cool. Like I I like it a lot.
It's good to have that
Like
power over your
I feel like
descendants.
I find it hilarious that your mom's afraid, but you're just like, "Oh yeah, I get to tell her turn them into skeletons. Let's go."
let's go. It's
Let's
like
go.
yeah, like it's especially that's that game and Girl from Nowhere. I feel like a lot of Thai stories are like you getting what you deserve, the
Mhm.
consequences of your own
Your
actions. It's
actions.
coming. Yeah, like
Very, very nice, very nice, very well said. That's cool. Thank you for sharing. So the next thing, it was definitely a hit question last time. What is your favorite food from your?
Oh.
So
Oh.
last time I was going for my Palauan side, and in Palau they basically make taro with almost anything, which is basically just like almost like an Asian potato in a way. It's a root vegetable. Um, yeah, they grow that stuff like Idaho grows potatoes. You know what I mean? Like
Oh no.
that stuff is gonna be in almost every dish they make. It's gonna be on the table. Um, but like Japanese side, I love fucking sashimi. I could eat sashimi anything almost, as long as of course, it doesn't kill me.
Mhm.
I also love okonomiyaki. That's also one of my favorites as
oh
far as
yeah.
like Japanese street food.
My brain just went burr when you said that. So
Okonomiyaki, have you
fast.
heard of it?
You said it so fast. No, I haven't.
So it's like, okay, so imagine
I'm
like
trying to rack my brain. Isn't okonomiyaki the one that is always on the like flat grills,
mhm,
right? Is that the
mhm.
one? Okay.
Yep. It's I like to translate it as like Japanese cabbage pancake pizza.
Yep, that's the
Yeah.
mental image I have.
Okay.
Right? So there's like a batter, right? And they usually like mix
Mm-hmm.
that up with a bunch of cabbage and stuff, and they have that, they lay that out on the flat grill. And then
Oh.
there's like, traditional things like nori and bonito
Uh-huh.
flakes, and they'll sauce it up with like, Japanese mayo and like
Yeah, I just looked it up.
yep,
That
yep.
makes sense. That
But
looks so good.
I say pizza in the sense that like it's very customizable. You can choose your protein, you can have no protein, you can just
Yeah.
add or take out whatever the heck you want as long as it's reasonable.
It looks
Um
really
yeah, it's delicious. It's so good.
good.
I live in the Pacific Northwest, right? And so I'm very close to
Mm.
like Portland, Oregon. I found one food cart that did okonomiyaki, and it was amazing. And I like it was like my treat. Like when I like it was ready to
Mhm.
treat myself, I would like take the light rail or the train downtown, and I would go and right up to Harumi-san's stand and have the best damn
Mhm.
okonomiyaki I've ever had in my life. And then sadly, one day I went to go there and it was just gone.
No.
And I just hope
Aw.
Harumi-san's doing good to this day.
I think for me, it would be a dish called biryani. And it's basically a rice dish, with specific spices, some types of vegetables. It kind of depends on like your own personal take to it, but some vegetables, and it usually has some type of meat. We always make it with chicken, but um, one of my favorite dishes, hands down. It's just so like it's just so flavorful. Really good. And funny enough, you were talking about your heritage, but we actually have a dish called pulao.
What?
Yeah, it's also a rice dish. Um, and it's usually like cooked in stock, like in broth, and you add spices, vegetables, meat, whatever you want. Pretty much. And yeah, it's called pulao.
That sounds
So
delicious, and I'm absolutely okay with a dish being named after the island or having the same name as my island if it slaps.
it
That's
does slap
awesome.
indeed.
Like 10 out of 10, I would try palau, and I would probably love it.
You probably would. It's really good. Kind of depends on where you get it from, or like depends on like how it's made. But like I know my mom's like homemade stuff is really good, and then like I know some places tend to have like decent pilau as well, and you could kind of like pair them with different things too. So like pilau is one of those that is a little less like um a little less flavorful and like biryani is. So you could like pair it with like another dish of like something that has more like sauce to it, and kind of like pair the two together and things like that as well. So sometimes I'll do that. But it's very good.
That sounds delicious, and it's just one of it's answers like that kind of make me regret scheduling this stream around dinner time.
Oh no.
That's a mood. I'm so hungry. I've not eaten today.
No,
I
have
will
a
after
something.
stream though. I will. I will. I promise.
Oh my god, but yeah, definitely did this to myself.
Oh no.
You're like dinner time. Let me suffer.
Dinner time. Let me ask every question related to food.
Yeah, let's just talk about food for like a half hour. It sounds great.
On the topic of torturing ourselves with food, because I mentioned before, I don't get to actually indulge in a lot of the food that often. I end up watching a bunch of street food videos and just food videos in general, and I'm like, why have I done this to myself? I know I can't have this. I'm just going to be sad. But no, I think one of the things that I'd really like get into my brain for a lot is bibimbap, because I love eggs. Like I'm just like, yes, please. Egg dishes, absolutely. Sign me up. I'm here. And then also you can't go wrong with a good potato. So you can't really go wrong with the Korean classic of a tornado potato.
Oh.
Tornado
Uh
potato.
Yeah, have you all seen you all have to look this up. So if you ever look
Oh,
up Korean
okay.
street food, the tornado potatoes are freaking wild. It's just
Oh,
like
I
a
think I know what you.
absolute it's just like a huge massive like chip slash fry slash whatever you want to call it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like tornadoed
Oh,
and it's like that just sparks some joy just seeing a potato spiral out like that. It's very funny.
I've
I
had
want that
these.
so bad.
I've had these. I just did not. They were not referred to as tornadoes. These are
That's what
delicious.
that's what I've always heard them referred to as.
This is probably one of the best ways to have a potato or to prepare a potato, in
Uh-huh.
my opinion.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
For this one, I think I'm gonna bring up the old browser. Go chat. We all know what we're talking about.
Bless the
I would
tornado potato.
I think another thing that reminds me of like something that I would like to try that's specifically Korean, is like Korean cheese dogs and like Korean corn dogs.
Ooh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I like a little bit. I like looking into like different like Asian cuisines because I like to make them sometimes. So like dumpling. I have a sushi making kit that I plan on using pretty soon here, and then like I've made tteokbokki before. Tteokbokki is so good.
Oh, I heard so many
Oh.
good things I just don't get to have. I'm just like, please, so I will find a way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
no,
start
it's
your
really
cooking.
good. For real.
Time to become the cooking VTuber that won't
Mhm.
burn the rice.
Yeah. No, I think for me is like when I see a dish that I would like to try, regardless of if it's like from my own like heritage or like a different heritage, I definitely like to look up like the most authentic recipe I can find, and try to follow it to a T, and see like how it comes out.
Exactly, because you want to try to make it. You want to try to taste it like as authentic as possible.
Like as
Quote
yeah.
unquote authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've definitely had one of the potato tornadoes before. I just never know what they were called.
I've always called it tornado potato.
That's awesome.
I'm not calling it anything else. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh geez, favorite food, huh? I guess if you've ever been to a Thai restaurant, they usually list it as a spicy like beef salad. It's a yam nua, and it's or crying tiger. Is one of my favorites. My mom made it a lot, or still makes it a lot. When it's like, it's like a grilled steak with like dried chili dipping sauce, or they'll crunch like dried chilies on top of it with like peanuts. It depends on who's your cook, really.
Right.
I usually the restaurants don't serve it with rice, but I've always had it with rice. Like if I make it, I'll make it with jasmine rice or I'll make it with steamed rice. Um, I like it a lot. It's definitely like one of the like different dishes that people haven't tried when they go to Thai restaurants, because I know a lot of people tend to try like pad Thai, or they'll get Thai tea and pad Thai usually is the order, or they'll get like curry, which I'm really proud of Thai curry, but it's like number 2 for me. Crying Tiger is definitely my favorite, and I definitely um if you go to a Thai restaurant, I definitely encourage you to get it on the menu. You'll definitely be in like impressing people if you ask for it. So it's not usually something that people ask for, I feel like. But it's really good. Like it has like a lime taste to it. There's mint and cilantro. It's very spicy, so definitely if your restaurant asks or has like a 1 to 5 spicy scale, do not pick 5 unless you want Thai 5 spice.
May I ask what it's called again?
It's usually it's a crying tiger or yam nua, and it's listed in English as like a grilled steak salad.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's what I like to go look at.
Ooh, that looks
Hmm.
good.
Put up on the stream.
Yeah, and then crying tiger is more of like the dipping dish. So like the beef salad that they probably have at the restaurant, they're just gonna pour all the sauces on top of it and then give it to you in like a salad base. And then you need to order jasmine on the side, but it's really, really good.
That that would look perfect with some
It
rice.
looks very good. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, 100%. Oh my god, I was just thinking the same.
Now the question is, where do we all stand on rice versus bread?
I love rice.
Rice, absolutely.
Rice, hands down. I will choose rice over bread any day. Like, look, I love me a good naan, but but nothing beats rice. My mom likes to crack. My mom likes to crack jokes. That when I was younger, I had to have a blood transfusion,
Sure.
like right after I was born, and she likes to joke that I got some Bengalan's blood because Bengali people love rice like crazy.
That's crazy.
So my mom will make that joke because because I'm the rice lover in the family. Like nobody in my family loves rice the way that I do.
That's
We love that for you.
Yeah, I love that for me too.
wow. That's funny. Mom went there.
She did.
Just because just while we're on the topic of Thai food, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but I do love pad see ew.
Oh yeah. Pad see ew is good. What do you where like do you get it from like a Thai restaurant?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I try a
stir
lot of
fries.
different Thai
Oh, go.
restaurants just to see. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was just
Oh,
saying,
you're
I
good,
try a
you're
lot of
good.
different ones just to see like if it's just like how they do it or if it's like a common thing, and that just seems to be the dish I always come back to.
Yeah. That's good. I like that a lot. It's not like one of my favorites just because like um I'm always I like rice over noodles, but like they got some thick noodles when
That's
it
what I
comes to
love
that
about it.
dish.
It almost like reminds me of udon almost, but I love that like they're flat, and like
Yeah.
and I do like it very spicy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You gotta have it spicy. That's a part of the flavor. Like it's you don't. It's weird for me to have some Thai dish without any spice in it. Like I feel weird. I feel like it.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
feel
feel
like
like
a lot
something's
of
missing.
I feel like a lot of our heritages are very much like spice centered when it comes to food. So not having spice feels so foreign to me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
literally.
Like even though I'm adopted and like most of the time we end up with just more normal American style foods, it's me and my mom that absolutely love spice. So we always end up making more spicy foods and then we forget, oh wait, my dad's a bit of a baby and he said
Oh
it's too spicy. I'm like, dog, there's like nothing in here but like pepper. Calm down, you're fine.
Peppa,
It's
You're not gonna die.
hilarious.
in addition to salt.
Gasp.
That's too much, you know.
Oh, sorry, I had to meme a TikTok.
I would love to try yakisoba.
Oh hell yeah. Oh
Hell yeah.
That's
We
another
love
dish
some
I can whip up pretty
yakisoba.
good. I can make a nice mean yakisoba because it's simple. That's definitely one of those
Yeah.
dishes where it's like if you like, sure you can throw in whatever the heck you want, but really you don't really need much beyond like cabbage, onions, noodles, oil, a little bit of soy sauce, white pepper, black pepper, you know.
And if you want to be
Yeah.
that guy, an egg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, aside, I really want to try kimchi.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love
Oh, I
kimchi.
want to try
good.
kimchi so bad.
I can do
Oh my
kimchi
god,
on rice every
sign me
day.
up for more.
I have a friend who literally like threatened to send me some. They're like, I will literally ship it to your house, and I'm like, okay.
No, honestly, I want to kind of try to learn how to make my own kimchi, but I have never like pickled a single thing in my life. So
Yeah,
it's like I
no,
know it's
same.
easy and stuff, but I'm like still intimidated.
But there's some very simple tutorial videos though, for sure.
No,
Because I've
really.
actually looked into it a little bit myself. There's this person who actually like makes a lot of like Korean dishes on his channel. And they're pretty easy. Some of them are pretty easy to follow along. But I've watched a few different like ways of like people make like pickling kimchi. And I really want to try it.
Yeah, I do really understand the thought process though when you look at something like fermentation for kimchi and stuff like that, and you just like,
It
oh,
just feels overwhelming.
I do not want to mess that up because
It just
otherwise
feels
I am
very
gonna give myself
overwhelming.
food poisoning.
Yeah. you gotta try it. You do it, you gotta try it. So, and just I think like that general process, even though sometimes it's not as bad as it looks, we just tend to make it more overwhelming in our like brains than it actually is, because you're just like, oh my god, I gotta do this step and then this step, and what if I mess this up? Then I do the whole process and then it doesn't come out right, and then we just get so overwhelmed that we're bound to psych ourselves out.
Literally me putting a simple dish on a pedestal and then psyching myself out about it.
Mood.
Right. Unless we have any other foods that we'd like to gush about, which I am fully openly inviting.
You just want to be hungrier at this point.
Honestly, I'm already in it, so we might as well just, go into the deep end about it.
Nah, I get that.
Like last time I mentioned how Filipino cuisine is actually pretty ingrained in Palawan culture, especially recently because of just travel and stuff like that, just intermingling. I could eat lumpia probably again every day of my life, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Give me enough banana sauce, I will clear a mountain of lumpia. And if you're not familiar with lumpia, it's just again really simple, like fried roll with just a little bit of meat and veggies in it, like ground meat and veggies. Again, super simple but super delicious, and I I could go. But,
no, I don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I don't blame you. Could go on about food forever.
But to spare my stomach, we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite music from your?
Bollywood music in general is a bop. I don't have like any specific song that I could pinpoint, but like a lot of the songs that we listen to in like weddings, like there's like a variation. So you got some of them that are like the romantic lovey-dovey songs, you got like the really upbeat songs. Sometimes you get a little bit of both. And just it's very much party music. Minus the sad songs and the lovey-dovey ones. Those ones obviously are more emotional based, but a lot of the music like is made centered around dance, because Bollywood in general is very much dance music as a whole in its core. And so everything is made to be able to have some sort of dance influence to it, even the sad songs. So I generally love Bollywood music for that. Sometimes I have to be in a specific mood for it. It kind of depends. But no, definitely very much like party dance music. And I love that about that. I love that about it.
That's awesome. I've heard a little bit of it, and I don't think I've heard any kind of like music that I don't like from Bollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've already been talking about K-pop since we basically started, so I'm just like,
Please
well,
go
you know
on.
what? So I'm just here living my best life. But
As you should.
I just remember, I think, oh God, I can't remember if it was middle school or high school, somewhere in there, was when I heard Shiny's replay. And I was
Oh.
just like, oh, so that's where my brain cell is right now. Okay,
Yeah.
and it never left.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's invaded the brain cell. It's right there. It's gonna
Shiny
stay there.
about
Always will be.
forever and always. You
Yeah, and
know.
if I'll mention a more recent obsession, I don't remember when the song came out, but I believe it is "Deja Vu" by Nuvist.
Ooh.
One of the on the newer side, I believe. I think it's probably on the later half, probably around. Let me see if I can actually look this up. I don't remember. Okay, no Google, don't play the song.
sorry. Am I here? Am I back? Sorry.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Tiny IRL
Let's
interruption, but I
see.
just got a drink delivery.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, it was 2018. I thought it
Did
was
you get
like
enough for the
back after
class?
that.
Yeah, you guys want to split a Red Bull?
Let's go.
I also
go.
Yes.
I also have okay, so it's a 12-ounce Red Bull, so 3 ounces for each of us. Gotta
Let's
Perfect.
gotta make sure there's
go.
enough for everyone.
Perfect.
Just enough for a little pick me up. And then I also have a strawberries and cream Dr. Pepper.
I
Perfect.
will. Yes.
Hmm?
I love Dr. Pepper.
Fantastic. I don't know if you've had this variant yet, but I think
I have
they
not.
I think it's their magnum opus. I think they've outdone
Okay.
themselves.
You
Highly
said which one is
recommend.
it?
Strawberries and cream.
I will have to check it out.
Tread with caution because the cream Dr. Pepper I find underwhelming.
Okay. Okay.
I was genuinely surprised how strawberries and cream it was. I was just like,
They
wait.
really did it.
I was like, wow, that's like real.
They really did it.
Man, now y'all make me want to try it. I'll have to go get some.
Intermission. Dr. Pepper intermission.
Dr. Pepper intermission, real quick. Guys, it's important.
Okay, but before we tangent on too much, once again, if I may, just while we are kind of tangenting, welcome in everybody who stopped in. I really appreciate you. Thank you for all the new follows. Once again, my name is Manta Ray. We are doing an AAPI panel stream, and it is also a charity stream for the Asian American Drug Abuse Program. I am joined by the lovely Hellfire, Safiria, and Teso from left to right. And we are just discussing our AAPI experiences and differences in our culture and things that we love about it. We have had a small interruption and I've talked about Dr. Pepper for a couple minutes, but we're going to get back into the questions. But while I am still talking about things not pertaining to the questions in stream itself, I will pop up charity goals again, just to let y'all know what we're in for. A lot of different goals as far as like redeems, chat chooses redeems, chat chooses emotes, community nights for games and movies, different kinds of streams to unlock, like art streams, crowd control streams, 12-hour streams. I will even face Sans Undertale again, despite them being the one thing I fear in this mortal world. And if we hit our final stretch goal, we can even get our commission raffle going. Yeah, thank you again for stopping by. Hope you enjoy the stream and take care of yourself. Don't forget to hydrate. Can we get a quick recap on where to donate? Oh yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking. I do have a exclamation point charity. That is a Tiltify link that will take you to the official website where you can safely donate through PayPal to a established organization, and a little alert will come up on stream when you do so. There are little incentives, so if you want to praise for me, it only costs $1. If you'd like to write a tweet in my name without any disclaimers, as long as it's TOS safe, that is a $5 donation. $10 will get you a custom Discord role in my Discord, and $20 will get you a custom chat command in my chat. Thanks again for the inquiry, and thanks again for considering to donate. It really does help a lot of people. AADAP is actually a organization that started from people who were a part of the original AAPI movement back in the 60s, 70s. This is really my first time working with them and knowing them and getting to know them, but the more I get to know them, the more I love them. The representatives have been amazing, and it just really does seem like a good cause, and I'm really honored to be able to help out. But yeah, thank you all again, and let's get back to it. We were talking about, actually, without moving to the next question, we were still talking about favorite music and stuff. Hellfiber, I believe, if you'd like to say anything, you were up.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of Thai people also like K-pop, so I just want to throw that out there. They really do.
It happens.
K-pop stay winning. Let's go.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
I just checked the charts right now. I was like, oh, hey, there's Blackpink, of course. Yes,
Oh,
there they are.
as
Yeah.
always.
So, it's I really like recently like Thai rap. Like I think it's
Ah,
very interesting because Thai is a tonal language, which is why I don't get really mad at anyone if if the pronunciations are off, or I usually tone down like the pronunciation on a lot of things because it gets it's hard. It's hard for people.
No,
It's like
totally.
yeah.
Especially
So,
for like Western speakers, because I don't think there's like any kind of Western language that's tonal at all.
mhm.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. Oh no, you're good. You're good. Like it's just interesting because like it sounds different. Like it's not like the rap isn't really coming from like a American rap or anything. Like it has its own like feel to it, and because it's tonal, it definitely is very, I guess, jarring to people at first. Like what was there? There's Kitty, who came from Kiss Me Five. She plays Nano in Girl from Nowhere, and
Hmm.
she's done rap and she's really good at it. Like a lot of people like her stuff, and I'm also really proud of her because that's really awesome. Like especially for like starring in a Netflix show and then also singing like an opening song for it too,
Oh
is
yeah.
really cool. So
Yeah, that is
yeah, like
cool.
yeah. So yeah, just like Thai rap. Like it's been a more recent thing. We have like T-pop and stuff like that now. So
Very cool. Very cool. Can't wait for the big T-pop wave.
I'm ready.
We should probably get on that right now, right? Get on the wave early.
I liked T-pop before it was cool.
Exactly.
Um. These are actually questions we didn't really get into in the first stream, just because there were a lot of guests. So getting through the questions took a lot longer. I'm glad that we're able to get to these questions. Time, but so Japanese side, I actually didn't listen to Japanese music until I got into like Visual K in like high school. And for those not familiar, Visual K is kind of like a fashion slash music kind of movement, very similar to American goth culture, and very inspired by American goth culture as well. Even having its own types of like subgenres, much like American countercultures and stuff like that. But the music associated with it was very much like J rock, J metal, things like that. And I actually got in with the band Duran Gray, which is still one of my favorite bands to date. And then of course I figured out, the only reason they were a band or even discovered is because of bands like X Japan and Yoshiki, and like again, still one of my favorite Japanese artists to this day. Um, Yoshiki actually did what is it, Red Wing for the opening for the third season of Attack on Titan. Um,
I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yep, he has been in the Japanese music scene since like the 80s. And when I heard his voice watching Attack on Titan just to watch Attack on Titan, like when I tell you my jaw went through the floor. Like when I tell you that was automatically like my favorite song of like 2019 or 2020 whenever it came out. Like, oh, that song moved me. That song slightly altered my brain chemistry.
I
I
have
love
that moment.
Yoshiki.
We love that. I have that same moment every time I hear voice actors and the same things, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to stop watching this right now. I have to go figure out who this is.
Literally, get on the IMBD right now. Like,
Pop open IMDb, pop open Mal. I'm finding out who this is because on God, I have heard this voice. I need to know.
um, yeah. And then on the Palauan side, um, which is interesting, is like with Palauan music, it's trying to think of like similar genres because um it has there is a lot of Palauan music that's kind of similar to like reggae and stuff like that, like like Caribbean music in that sense. But it also very much, again, very distinct, very like you could definitely tell it's not like from like Caribbeans or whatever. And it's hard to explain besides just like I don't know any genres that sound like it except for like there's I know like some like Mexican Latino music that sounds like that, but again I don't know what those genres are called that sound like it. so I don't know how to explain it. But there's like a lot of synth, a lot of synthesizer. It's kind of like very slow, chill, like laid back music. There's usually very like vocals on it, but like very gentle sing song event vocals. Again, usually for like dancing, but like very not very upbeat at all. You know, like very like laid back, like just back and forth kind of chill out music, and I love it. I don't like listen to it on a daily basis, but anytime I do, it's like one of those things that like it sends me back to like the family cookouts and stuff like that.
I love that. One of those things that just always can send you back to exactly where your brain remembers finding the song or like listening to it the most will just send you back. I think that's probably the best part about music is that it just will randomly teleport you back in time and you're just like, oh, that's exactly where I was for that.
Yeah, exactly. Very strong, powerful connections to like it.
Just a little bit more than beeps and bops.
A little bit, a little bit. Next question is, do you have any favorite movies from your heritage? Since I was like the last one
Hmm.
that spoke and the last one, I'll let you guys go first. And
Well, I mean, I already mentioned Parasite, so I'm just like, man, I really gotta get on a movie deep dive. My brain cell has still been obsessed with anime, so I'm like, I should get around to watching a movie.
can I talk about my favorite Korean movie?
Absolutely.
Have you heard of Old Boys?
The name sounds familiar.
That is like an action psycho thriller. It's really messed up. It's about a dude who literally gets like kidnapped and stuck in an apartment for like 15 years. And then he has no idea why, he has no idea who kidnapped him, and they do all this weird stuff to him while he's stuck in there. But he decides to like essentially go like warrior mindset prison mode and like just like work out in his room and like get all like buff and like just like try to practice fighting on walls and stuff like that. And then one day they just release him out into the world with like clothes and they would like put knockout gas through the vents to like cut his hair and stuff and bathe him and stuff, which was again really weird. But just in that sense, like just to know like how like invasive they were. Like he literally just wakes up one day and they released him out into the world, and he's like fully clothed. He's got money on him, and the rest of the movie is him trying to figure out who the hell just did all this and stuff like that. And it just gets like way more in depth than you thought it would. Like that premise alone, like is cool enough of a concept for like a movie, but then like they just put like so much more depth into the story that they didn't even need to. And then the ending is just way more messed up than you can even like think about, with like what you start out with in the beginning.
I think that's the one thing that's like Eastern media does. It's just like, oh, you think it's over? No, 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 no. We're still going. We're going somewhere with this. It's not just going to be, oh no, there might be another part. No, we're getting it done. We're doing something with it.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh, we thought we were just gonna stab you with a knife. No, we're gonna twist it. We're gonna twist it slowly.
We'll definitely put this on the list.
Let me just say, like 10 trigger warnings,
Understandable.
several trigger warnings.
Jeez, there's so many movies that I could talk about. There's one that stands out to me. It's from 2008. It's called Chocolate, which we tend to have strange titles, but I swear it's a good movie. Um, it's another martial arts film. We love arts film
Sure.
a lot. But it's about this girl who is on the spectrum and she's like a martial arts like genius, and she doesn't have money to pay for her mother's chemotherapy and stuff. And so the movie is about her paying back money, attempt to make more money in order to get rid of those debts. And it's really cool. It really stood out to me when I was younger. I really liked it. Definitely, I think the international version is a little bit toned down. They did cut out a lot from it from the original Thai showing. Again, with a lot of these movies, massive trigger warning as well for a
Right.
lot of these things. Yeah, like whether it be violence or just heavy topics.
Hmm.
So it's just really cool. I think I still have the DVD somewhere. We have so many DVDs. We
Funny moment. While you were first explaining the movie, I was like, "Oh, hey, that's really cool." And then, especially as you're like explaining the main character, I was like, "Man, that's cool that they have like neurodivergent like representation too." And then I had to like look it up, and like as you're talking about what the movie's about, I'm like, "Holy crap, I've seen this movie fully."
yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of people have actually seen Chocolate. Like they like or at least see the scene where she's like in like her pajamas and stuff, and like
Hmm.
she's first. It's we're first introducing her. It's I don't know why, but a lot of people have just seen that specifically, or like Ong Bak.
Yes, yes.
So,
Ong Bak is a big one,
hmm
but great movie actually. Great movie. That is. Thank you for like unlocking that memory again in me. I can't even. I totally forgot that existed.
Oh, I don't think I've seen the movie, but I think I've definitely seen the poster.
There you go. Another movie on the list.
I think one of my favorite movies is it's actually pretty old. It's from like 1998. And it's called Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, which is like that translates to like some things just happen, like some things happen. And it's centered. It kind of shows a little bit of like the past and the present, and kind of brings them together. So essentially, there's this there's this friends group, two girls and this guy, right?
Hmm.
And both of the girls like the guy. One of them swallows her feelings. The other ends up with the guy. They get married. They have a child together, but she ends up dying. She ends up passing away, and she leaves this letter to her child. Mind you, the other friend is now estranged from like that like from him, so like they haven't talked in years.
Right.
But the mother always knew that the other friend truly loved him, and that like he might have loved her too, but like settled in a sense.
Right.
So she leaves this note to her daughter to read or whatever. And so once she's older, she reads the letter, and then she sets out to essentially bring that friend and her father together. And it's
Aw.
just such a cute story. It's such a funny one too. And it's just full of so much emotion. It's a really good. It's a really good movie.
That sounds good.
Uh
Would you mind like typing the name in the chat or
yeah, I got you. Here. Oh, there you go.
awesome. I'd have to put that on my list now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super good.
I'm just gonna drop a quick wiki link for that for people in chat too, just in case you are interested in checking out some of the movies we're talking about. I probably should have done that for the music as well, but you know what? We can always go back and check it out on the VODs.
Mhm.
Next question, unless anybody else has anything. Awesome. So we're gonna switch away from popular things like food and media and stuff like that, and we're gonna go into just what are some family traditions you have, and it doesn't just have to be like it's only stuff about your culture and stuff like that, but even just like stuff in your own family that you feel like your culture might have just in um very basic things, of course, like things in my house, like you better take your shoes off at my door. Swear to
Oh, same.
God. I will not accept that. um Going deeper into it, I've talked about how like again at least like before all my family like grew up and moved away and stuff like that, when everyone still lived close together, we used to have like at least a monthly family cookout get together, whether it be for a holiday, someone's birthday, for no reason at all, just because it's been a while. um
Mhm.
One of my favorite things is just the get-togethers, all the food, the music, hanging out, just seeing your cousins, for the first
Yeah.
time in a long time, stuff like that.
Um, one tradition that we have is like this one's on a larger scale. Whenever we have during the year 2 celebrations called Eid, and there's one that's like that closes off the fasting month, and then I can't remember the second one specifically what it's for. It has something to do with the prophet, but essentially during those, family tradition is to go to prayer in the morning, then we come home. We usually everybody would come over to our house because my grandmother used to be with us. So um so then we would spend the day preparing food, get ready, get all dressed up, even though, um everyone was just gonna come over, so we were like getting ready, the way that you do when you have celebrations and parties.
Yeah.
And then everyone comes over, enjoy a bunch of food and hang out. And then we would always take a staircase photo. So a staircase photo for us was all the cousins and like all the kiddos and everybody sit on the staircase. We just fit in wherever we could, and we just took a big family photo. We have actually we did that tradition, I think, COVID, but that was always a really big part of like stuff that we would do for the holidays. Um, I wanna. And that shoe taking off one, that's also a really big one.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel
Yeah.
like that's very pervasive with Eastern cultures.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there isn't a reason that my family does not find to get some level of cookout, acquiring crabs, acquiring any form of regular amounts of food that we've taken and blown out of proportion somehow. And I'm just like, is there a reason for this, or are we just here to eat food like we always do? And it's like, not that there's anything wrong with this, but it's just like, was there a reason or no?
What were the motives behind this?
And don't get me wrong, like I'm definitely down to just devour some crabs, but like, was there a reason? I don't remember. But it's like, hey, it's good to see you. It's nice.
No, absolutely, literally, especially over crab.
Heck yeah.
Oh, jeez. Hard question. What are some family traditions? Huh. I know that um anything to do with like shoes or like hitting things with your feet is really something that we were taught not to do. Um, Making sure that like the Buddha statue that's usually in the corner of the house is at the highest point because nobody is supposed to loom over the statue itself.
Okay.
That was really important to us. My parents really, really, or at least my mom and my grandma and my aunt would really instill that into us because it's just like something you don't do.
Right.
Yeah, like it's yeah, or like not so much, but like also like images of the previous king as well, the king and queen. Those were put up very like high points in the house. Um, Pointing at imagery like the king or queen or the Buddha is very disrespectful. I usually point quote unquote with an open hand.
Right.
When I still do that just because like like I spent a lot of time at Buddhist temples or at Watts and or we like to take over like kind of like a flea market open area type places in America. So I interacting with other Thai people, I'd make sure that I would at least those etiquettes and making sure that I don't lose my cool in like public or something, which is another big thing for us.
Very nice. Very cool. Very much for sharing. So the next question is the is one that might be considered a little controversial. So please speak on it as much as or as little as you'd like. But is dating any different in your culture? I'll
Very.
yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Um, last time I spoke about how like in Palauan culture, um, kind of have to be careful or at least know who you're dating or if you're or like know who you even want to think about dating because there's only so many Palauans in the world. And so like the chances of you being second cousins or closer is like higher than you might think.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do like the whole like who's your mom? Okay, but who's your mom? Okay, now who's your dad? Who's your grandma? Who's your grandpa? Who are your cousins? Who've they married? Like like okay, cool. Like we're good. We're good.
Um, I know in our culture, it kind of depends on like the family. It also kind of depends on like the the wishes or whatever. But essentially, like arranged marriages are a very big thing. Um, and if you're lucky like me, where you end up in a family where they don't care to like arrange it for you, you can like figure it out yourself. You have a lot more leeway because then you
Right.
can get to know somebody, you can decide who you're marrying. It's not a problem. Whereas in a lot of arranged marriages, they arrange it, they get to know each other during the period that the wedding stuff is being figured out, and then you get the rest of your life to figure out each other,
Right.
kind of thing. So I will say some arranged marriages work out great.
Sure.
My parents have been married 30 something years now, but they were also childhood friends. Um, so it was kind of, it worked out great for them.
They have that advantage, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's some situations where it doesn't work out great, unfortunately. And there's family members of mine that have had to go through that, unfortunately.
Sure.
Um, but, but I'm also very blessed that my family has given me the ability to just figure that out on my own.
Yeah. That is cool. That is good of them to like kind of, be a little bit more open-minded or at least give you that ability to choose or give you that autonomy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as for me, the dating thing is not something I'm familiar with at all.
Yeah,
I've been
sure.
flying. I am the solo dolo for a long time, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that, to be honest. So I
Awesome.
honestly am being been rather distanced from a lot of that kind of like end all be all culture, and I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm okay.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, dating culture. I think dating culture in Thailand or with Thai people, it can be, it's different, right? It's really hard to explain. We don't do like arranged marriages. Like for the most part, our parents will like mainly push us towards a career rather than a relationship.
Sure.
And the women are usually the like biggest like assuming it's like a hetero relationship, right? Like which is I guess what my mom taught me more of and what I've seen more of in my family. The women are definitely the deciders of a lot of factors when it comes to a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Even if our culture itself is patriarchal, um, but I think weddings are probably the most intricate, and the most jarring to people, that do watch like actual traditional Thai weddings. Depending on who you ask and depending how old they are, they'll have a bunch of different traditions. Some have phased out, some still stand. Like the gate ceremony, where again, assuming it's a hetero relationship, the bride's family will have these like ties of shells or flowers, depending on like your family, and you'll have to pass through those gates. AKA, you have to get the acceptance of anyone that is holding those ropes
Ah,
before. Yeah, so it's like you could bribe them with like money or something, or maybe they'll do a dare. And that's right after you, if it is a traditional wedding, you would go to the bride's house and recite poetry from the bottom of the stairs.
oh,
Kind of,
okay.
yeah. And she like, if she accepts you, then she will come down from her room, and then everything else will start.
That is
And
poetic.
then yeah, like it kind of reminded me, like when I was a kid, I was really, well, I still am, to Star Trek. It kind of reminded me of like Worf, and I think that's why I like Worf so much. Like it's like, yeah, I'm reciting poetry, yes. But yeah, no, it gets way more intricate than that. What happens afterward? Oh yeah, the shell ceremony where you're supposed to hold out your hands, and then everybody will line up, and then they'll pour like water or holy water or whichever into your hands. And cleansed water is a better way to put it.
Sure.
And then they'll give advice with the bride and groom kneeling down at like a pillow, just to, anyone who's like, oh yeah, we have marriage advice, blah blah blah, you're like, here's this. Lots of singing at the after party, that sort of thing.
Very cool.
So yeah, like it's like, that's just what I've seen from like my family and what they do. But they definitely don't do the uh, bed making anymore, where it's kind of awkward, where your parents like will make the bed for the night. That's definitely not modern anymore, or in modern Thai weddings anymore, because it's really awkward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair, fair, fair. Um, Thank you for sharing. You actually kind of reminded me something, because when I said dating culture, I didn't actually think about stuff like weddings and stuff. Probably be another conversation. Um, well, yeah, and thank you for talking about it, all of those of you that did. Um, but one thing I didn't think of that's like a fun, usually like just like an interesting conversation topic, is with Palauan weddings. Traditionally, the bride was topless, and then like there would be like a dance, and offerings would be given to the bride, right? And modern days now, of course, the topless thing is totally optional, and usually I don't know how often they do it, to be honest, nowadays. I know that it's I think it's still done, not too sure how often again, if at all. I don't think it's very much. But now, instead of doing offerings, because of course, back then in traditional island wedding times, it was all like, food and supplies, resources, things like that. Now they usually just do like money, but it's still very interesting seeing a uh matrimonial dance where the bride dances, and then like also it is usually like, I'm really trying to explain this in a way that doesn't sound like a really ceremonial stripper dance, but it's not too far off. But it is cool. It is a very interesting topic, I think, and just, yeah, just talking about how modern practices have been changed from like old traditional practices. Mind. So we'll move on to the next question. Do you have any AAPI role models? And this could be, again, just like literally people in your family, musicians you look up to or like a lot, actors. It could even like literally like there's no limits to it. It's just who you look up to. Again, also AAPI.
I
Hmm.
wouldn't really say anyone in specific. I think I just like seeing other people put that kind of level of their culture into anything that they do. Like seeing people who put themselves out there, doing things like any other VTubers that are just out there doing their own thing, or just actors, artists in general, like athletes. It's just nice to see people like put themselves out there and put themselves in the forefront to just like display what they've done or learned or just what they have a passion for. I think that's really something that's just generally inspiring because it takes a lot to just genuinely and like genuinely put yourself out there.
Very well said. Thank you.
I will say I have a lot of admiration for people in my own personal life and like online life that take the time to just express um and kind of involve the culture things that they do, and people who like to shine a light on AAPI, especially because we're so underrepresented.
Mhm.
It's really nice to see anybody, whether you know them or not, proudly displaying that. Cause like I know personally growing up, um, at first it was really hard for me. I'm a lot more appreciative of it now. But growing up and not seeing a lot of representation and being treated different for being so different, definitely made it hard for me to kind of like accept that side of myself for a long
Sure.
time.
Sure.
It was definitely something that I hid away more because I tried to be more, Americanized, so that way like I'd be accepted by people and
Right.
things like that. And so and plus seeing the lack of representation made it feel almost wrong to not to have that kind of side.
Right.
And so growing up I had to do a lot of work to remind myself that everything about me is valid, whether it's the American side or whether it's the Asian culture side. No matter what, it's all valid. And so it was just one of those things where even now I get the weirdest, like almost like imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
you, because then you start questioning it. You're like, I've been so American my whole life, am I really that Asian? Like,
Yeah.
and you're
Of
just like, girl,
course.
it's literally in your blood, shut the like shut it.
Right. Like
um
there's not like pre-qualifiers.
exactly. So
Yeah.
like it took a really long time to get out of that mindset that first of all having to undo everything that I basically did in trying to remain like retain some normalcy in American eyes, but also like um being more proud and open with my culture, because sometimes even online it's still hard to talk about. I don't
Sure.
bring it up super often, and even within the last, like, I want to say year or so is when I started being more like open, like, yeah, okay, and putting it like in my bio or doing whatever, just so that way like it was known that, hey, I am like South Asian. And that's a big part of who I am and my personality and who, like, just my culture and my background. So I'm definitely like more happy and accepting of it, and I almost regret shutting it away at a young
Sure.
age.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where just seeing any sort of representation like that makes me very happy, because we deserve that representation just like anybody else does. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. When you was talking about having like that imposter syndrome, I think that's the one thing that I feel so blessed that I've never felt in my brain. It's just
mhm,
that my brain has been not kind in other ways, but it's never said, "Are you really Asian?" It's like, "No, it's right there in my blood. Like, look at my face. Like, I can see it. Like,
mhm,
I'm right there." Like, it's that's one thing that's never lost my brain. I'm like, no, it's like, sure, part of like my culture growing up has been Americanized, but
mhm,
there's nothing absolutely wrong. There's like nothing wrong with that. It's just exactly the way that things have been, and that's fine.
mhm.
And
I
every
think for
part of that's
me,
valid.
I think for me specifically, it was also in instances where I have a hard time like talking generally about where my family is from and the culture, just because there is a lot of negative stigma with people who come from my culture or people that share my religion and things like that. So because of the negative stigma, I always have a really hard time being like open about it. But when people do ask me, like, I'll say, yeah, I'm Asian, and they'll be like, oh yeah, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, my family's from South Asia, but where specifically? And then you tell them, and they're like, oh, but is that really Asia though? And I'm like, yeah, it's still Asia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the amount of times that
Asia's a
people
big
will
place.
invalidate it, the amount of times people will invalidate it, and they'll go, oh, but I count that as the Middle East. I'm like, first of all, Middle East is still Asia.
It's still
But
Asia, people. Come on.
second of all, it's not Middle East. Not there. Um but it's just I've had a lot of invalidation from other people growing up,
Right.
especially being especially growing up in a town that was like majority white and things
Sure.
like that. When you talk about your culture or you even open up to some degree about your culture, people do have their own takes that some in most of the time are not proper takes.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
but and then you have to learn to navigate that, and that can be a very difficult thing. Like for instance, in high school, I started wearing the hijab. For anybody that doesn't know what a hijab is, it's basically you wear the scarf on your head. It's to preserve modesty. It's a very important but not technically mandatory practice, and I don't do it anymore, but I did in high school. And I remember the amount of looks that I would get. Everybody knew me because I was the one girl in the school that had a scarf on her head. People
Right.
made fun of me. They called it a towel. They said if she can wear her hijab, why can't I wear my hat? And like
Right.
all sorts of stuff. So they were not used to another culture and what lies with that culture, and there was a lot of ignorance. Um, and so when you try to talk to people who generally have an ignorant take because they aren't knowledgeable about it, it's very difficult to talk to them because they want to just insert that their opinion is correct, even if it's not correct.
Exactly.
so,
Some
so I
people
grew up with a lot
never
of
learn.
yeah, so I grew up with a lot of resistance from people and a lot of people like trying to correct me about my own heritage and things like that despite them not knowing about it.
It's so
And
weird,
even
isn't it?
now, yeah. And even now in online culture, I've had it done to me before. That's why, like, I'm very iffy about when I talk about it. And that's why I was so, like, excited to, like, talk today was because, like, other people who understand my struggle. um,
Truly.
but, like, it's just one of those things where even in online culture and just being in this online space, sometimes it's hard to share because people will not see my story or like my background and things like that the way that I try to relay it, because sometimes people just like have a hard time comprehending it.
Oh yeah.
And because of the knowledge that they have gained through various medias or various, like teaching, they think what they know is what is true, and then having to kind of reverse that, which like on one hand it's not technically like your job to, but at the same time it kind of is, because it's like that's your culture, that's your heritage, that's where you come from. And so the more you like make people understand it and correct their misconceptions, the better it is in the overall run. um but it's very difficult sometimes because I know some people that are just so steadfast in what they know that even if you correct them, being somebody who knows firsthand, they will not listen to you. There are just some out there like that.
Right.
So
They're not there
it's
to
very
listen.
difficult.
Yeah.
Every day I'm reminded
Yeah.
that just seeing random comments and things online, I'm just like, for the love of everything holy, somebody please listen to the person that actually knows what they're talking about.
And that's the
Honestly.
craziest part to me, because I've noticed that people will listen more to somebody who does not directly have anything to do with it than they are willing to listen to somebody who is literally in the middle of
Right. The one with lived experience, right?
it. Exactly.
Right. No, absolutely. Huge problem. It's like whoever's the loudest is the one that's going to be listened to the most. And
Yeah.
typically that's not us.
Pretty much, yeah. And even if we get loud about it, then it's almost problematic to people that
Yes.
like that you're talking about your own thing and you're inserting your own opinions on something that has 100 to do with you and your background. How dare you?
Now we're centering ourselves.
Yeah.
How
Right.
dare you have a
Absolutely.
correct opinion because that's what's the actual truth.
So,
Blasphemy.
real quick, bringing it back to role models though.
Hmm.
I think you guys made some really good points just on, those in the AAPI communities that have put themselves out there, especially knowing how we're treated in the
Hmm.
general public, especially in the past. And yeah, just that kind of courage. Like even and like not trying to pat our backs too much, but in a small way we're doing that ourselves, right? Especially how,
Hmm. Yeah.
like exactly, especially how you were talking about how even if you have to think about it or hesitate sometimes, you've slowly been trying to advocate for yourself and put
Mhm.
your culture and your heritage out there a lot more. Like that kind of courage and that kind of mentality, I think, the fact that it's been with our those that came before us, I think that that's a
Mhm.
huge reason why we felt the confidence to try it, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, again, like myself, I don't have too many examples, like especially like with like Palawan role models, like there are like I mean a lot of my own family, of course. Some of our presidents have done a lot of great things for our society because we are a democratic society at the moment,
Mhm.
or at least governed democratically
Yeah.
or republicly. Um, uh, and again, like a lot of the people who have been um, very integral to those nature reserves, things like that.
Mhm.
That has very much, infected me. It's contagious. Like
Mhm.
I'm, because of that, I grew up with a respect for the oceans and the waters and trying to protect them and maintain the balance that they have more or less maintained for the past thousands, millions of years. Um, and yeah, and I really could see myself being a lot more, forgive me for lack of a prettier phrase, whitewashed if those
Mhm.
kind of people didn't come before me or if they didn't make those efforts.
Yeah.
Because that's another great point you brought up too is how it's not always in our best interest to be open about our heritage or our culture because we're not necessarily in a space that will respect that or honor that or acknowledge it even. And I swear to God, I was going somewhere with this. Not my train of thought hitting a bus.
It's sometimes the baby steps, like we can't shout it all the time and we can't, be loud about it all the time, but every baby step that we take is a step that helps us be able to be more open about it.
Yes. And I
I can
think
definitely talk about it more now as an adult than I ever could growing up.
yes, exactly. And I like to think that like even those baby steps are what is inspiring people after us, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
hopefully someone sees this or saw us back then and was just like, dang, they could do it. Maybe I can try too.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing I stress constantly is when I do bring it up, I just always talk about how like we're just so underrepresented, like it's insane. Um and it's crazy too because sometimes you'll say that and people will be like, "Well, what about this person? And what about this person?" And I'm like, "Okay, but like think about it, right? If you have a room full of people and in that room 3 people are of a different culture and the rest of you are the same or whatever the case might be, yeah, that's 3 people that represent us. But look at the verses, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more different representation. And so yeah, every bit of representation we get is a big step. It's a big deal and it means more to people than you understand. Growing up, I did not see people like me on TV.
Of course.
I did not see people like me on TV at all. And if we were, it was always in a negative light, never positive.
Right.
So that I don't think people understand how much that media has an effect in how you grow up and how you see yourself. And the amount of like undoing that, like the amount of things that you have to undo in your own mental to remind yourself that you should be proud of who you are, you should be proud of your cultures, and you should be loud and speak about it and do, the things that you need to represent yourself and your people. It's a lot of work to undo.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was
Totally.
almost a shame for me at one point, like admitting this cultural side to myself. Like I would shy away. Wouldn't show people like what I look like in cultural clothing. I'd get really nervous, and even if I did speak about it, my heart a mile a minute just would pound away. I remember doing this like
Mm.
presentation in middle school about like my family's home country, and I wore cultural clothing, and I kid you not, the entire time my anxiety was like at an all-time high because you don't know how that's going to be like taken and you don't know how people are going to respond, especially when I came from a town that was majority white and they were all very judgmental and I was the only like culturally different person and things like that. So So I was always was very distinctly different than everybody else, and so that kind of like thing, it took a lot of time to be able to be happy with who I am and where I come from and what my culture is, and be able to represent myself and anybody else like me in any setting. And that's why I proudly put it on my bio and things like that now, because I'm just like, I deserve to have that out there. I deserve to represent myself in the way that I truly am. So,
Heck yeah, I love
heck
that.
yeah.
So very well said. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And just to check in, Hell, would you like to say anything about
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, for I guess for AAPI role models, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I guess one person I really do like. He's not necessarily American,
That's fair, even if they're
but
just Asian, you know.
yeah. I think from Trash Taste, Giguk is one of my favorite people. Just because I really like just somebody who is just Thai, whose heritage is Thai, living in a different country. You know, Britain. He's in England, and just having him also be like really into the anime and video game culture, especially with his wife.
Yeah.
It definitely is kind of it reminds me of my own relationship and the interesting cultural things that we run into sometimes, like how um Giga took said Snap to Thailand, and he was trying to ask his mom to make it not spicy and was having a lot of trouble,
I
and she
remember this
was really
story.
not yeah, she was not having it. And it's just, I felt so bad for Sid Snap, and I feel very bad for my SO because he, like, when I cook food, he's like glistening because it's like so
Aw.
bad. And I feel so bad, and he'll eat it anyway. It's just that, like,
Bless his heart.
he's like shiny, like he's
Yeah, that's a real one.
Why
yeah.
are you shiny?
You know it's hardcore food when you're sweating as you're eating it as if you're working out. My
Mhm.
father's like
Yeah.
that.
I feel bad, but like it's also like a lot of fun because like he gets to try something new, and my family will probably try to torture him at one point with food. So I looked up to their relationship like that. It was just really cool to see somebody like me doing so well, especially like in a streaming like podcast environment.
Mhm.
And
And
the 3 weddings.
all right, thank you everyone for sharing. Those are really great discussion.
Mhm.
Um, so next question is about our VTuber personas specifically, and just whether or not our heritages has you know inspired, shaped it, influenced it at all, if at all. Um, my OC is very much inspired by my heritage, because I wanted to try to represent that, use it as a way to represent my culture in a way. And so my OC is a blend of my Japanese and Palauan heritage, as well as some fantasy characters for for flavor.
Mhm.
But yeah, even the name Manta Ray is kind of a blend of those cultures, because manta rays are very significant in Pacific Islander, Pacifica cultures. And the Ray in my name Manta Ray, I changed to have the Japanese spelling for the word for spirit. So it's like I'm a manta spirit, for
Oh.
the OC. And it is a little inspired by Moana. I will say it. I'll put it right down. I'll put that down on the table. That the scene with Moana's grandma and talking about being reincarnated as a manta and stuff like that, and it made me think of my grandma and stuff. And I love her to death. Literally one of my closest family members, and yeah, I tear up every time I watch that movie.
Mhm.
Um, so it was just like really easy, like just it was like not even hard to think about like what my OC was gonna be. Like I almost already had something like that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to just having that brain cell that says, "Oh, there's no way that this is hard. I have everything written down. There's like an entire volume novel set of books just ready to go for everything that needs to be included and to be prepared to make the version of myself that always was meant to be."
The one brain cell carrying the team.
Yep, that's the one brain cell that's the only one I need. So a lot of people will know me as the haiku guy. Um, it's one of the things that's just sparked so much passion and joy into my brain that really put into words how I felt about a lot of things, and it's a whole deal. It's not even about the volleyball at that point. It's just about passion and
Yeah.
something that sparks joy in you, and that's what brought my brain cells like, oh, it didn't have to be volleyball, but because it was something that was grounded in something that I could do, and that when it like hit my brain, I was like, oh, let me go try that, and then I did, and I fell in love with it, and we stayed on that course for while I was like exercising, doing workouts in college. I was just like, oh, these just there are some random people for that just like show up at the gym to play volleyball. I was like, oh, can I join? I was like, absolutely, and that's just part of where that came in. As for the other parts of it, part of the culture and lore of everything that I've done is the Shadow Monarch of Flames, which is in part duly inspired by the popular manhwa, which is getting its anime very soon, which is Solo Leveling. Um,
Ooh.
I was really much so like falling in love with manhwa, and Solo Leveling hit that part of my brain that said, "Oh, this is what you're going to fixate on for like a year and a half." Like get to work, start writing everything down.
Very cool.
For my character specifically, I haven't actually introduced anything culturally quite yet. Funny enough, I was just talking about this, I want to say, not that long back, probably like maybe a couple weeks or so ago, with a friend of mine, Aya, because we both have a very similar thing as to where both of our characters have a lot of like really cool design elements, but none of them have anything to do with our cultures. And we were both talking about it because we're both, part of AAPI. So we were just kind of talking about how we wanted to like incorporate um an additional design of our characters with our like culture mixed into it somehow. So she's Viet. So she's Vietnamese, so she wants to, add Vietnamese elements. And because I'm Pakistani and Indian, I wanted to put more cultural adaptation into my character as well. So I've been thinking about an additional look that is more culturally accurate to my background. So like maybe getting some cultural clothing for my character. Although demons are completely like kind of a no-no culturally
Right.
for us, which
Sure.
it's
Little
fine,
taboo.
whatever. Yeah, it's a little taboo, but it's whatever. But I definitely wanted to get culture more of my culture put into my character for sure. I just haven't implemented that yet.
And forgive me for saying, because I don't know if it's like, my lane or anything, but I feel like almost that taboo within your culture just kind of makes that demon aspect just more profound or gives it more depth.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I'm demon, cool, it's like,
Yeah.
it actually like it has that like that background to it. It has that.
Yeah. Like it's a taboo thing, but I think it's also one of those things that is so misunderstood. Because demons aren't necessarily always a bad thing. And because it's always looked at in that light, it's very, very taboo in my culture because obviously demons, ooh, bad. But,
Spooky.
but yeah, but I definitely chose to go down that route because I definitely think that there's a lot more to demons than just the general stereotypical like view of them.
Hmm.
So
If I may ask, 'cause
so
I'm not
mhm.
sure, but like, is demons kind of more set in the sense where it's like Japanese gods, where it's like they're gods, but like there's also like it's not just like the big gods that they always talk about. There's also like this like spirits that are kind of also, they have powers, and some of them have, like, are
Hmm.
very famous because of legends or names or stuff, and there's like just different tiers and like stuff like that. Like it's just like a more general
Yeah.
term.
I think it's more so just like a generalized term for like what's it called? They look at demons as more of like I don't know how to explain. Like scary beings that are more so in association with like the devil and things like that. So like they're very much like very what's it called? It's almost like ignorance in a sense. Like they don't understand that there's so much more to demons than just this negative like devil side type of thing. They
Right.
just always look at it in a very negative light, and in a generalized like bad vibe type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas I think that the cultural differences, even though I'm not totally read up, like I will say. But
Yeah.
anytime that I do read something, I definitely find a lot of interest in it because it's very cool to see like the way that things are depicted in different like cultures. So you could look in one culture and demons could be totally bad, and then you could look in like another culture and they're like gods and they're amazing and like whatever. So it's like just seeing like the duality of this one thing across multiple cultures is very interesting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. For heritage, I don't think my heritage really influenced any of my VTuber persona. I don't really have lore or anything. I just kind of like grabbed in kind of a idea and a model, and I also work in IT, so that's where the name comes from. So it's just kind of winging it. Definitely no real influence at all. I I went with something simple,
Yeah,
just
no,
so I could
totally
get
fair.
started as soon as possible.
Absolutely. No, totally valid. With that, the next two questions are our last two questions, but they're also kind of our more controversial ones. So again,
Hmm.
I don't really feel uh good about speaking on it. Feel free to say as much as or as little as you like. I won't pry. I'll just ask in generically or in general if everybody's had a chance to speak, then I'll move on. But first question or the next question is: have you experienced discrimination because of your AAPI identity? Um, I'll go first. Sadly, yes. Like from a very young age, and I think the kind of sad part about it, from my end, is that I'm not like I'm very white passing. I am half white. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I did not get the melanin. My sister stole all of that. I do have like almond shaped eyes, but like, only very so slightly. Not very thin eyes. And
Hmm.
so it's like a lot of people will mistake me for Latino or Italian or Native
That's
American
such a mood.
before they, peg me as any kind of Asian, right?
Hmm.
And that's how it was even in like elementary school and stuff. And anytime I would correct somebody and be like, "Oh, I'm actually part Japanese," it's like a switch would flip in their head and like, "Oh, let me say the most
Hmm.
racist thing I can possibly think of right now." And yeah, especially with kids, they have no filter or any kind
Hmm.
of sense, so it's like, like just, classic stretching their eyes out, uh just running up to me and going like ching ching chong, what did I say, translate that,
Yeah.
stuff like that, like really just like completely out of pocket
Blatantly
stuff. Yeah,
racist. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
and
Uh,
that never stopped. And then like, yeah, if anytime I like mentioned that, like, I'm an islander, people would call me like a spear chucker
mhm.
and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, so, in my adult life, luckily I don't get that. Even when I do speak about my cultures, obviously adults are a bit more decent, and
Mhm.
so even though there is the occasional asshole, luckily I don't see it as much in my adult life.
Yeah, I can completely relate to that like flip of the switch the second that you mention it.
Hmm.
I am very Hispanic looking to a lot of people.
Sure.
So people will peg me as a Hispanic first before anything else. And I am very open when I say I am not Hispanic. Like um I'm Asian. Like that's, because everyone just automatically assumes it and will even bring it up in conversation, and it's like, you thought, but not really. And so growing up, like I said, I grew up in a white majority town, so a lot of uh, a lot of ignorance and things like that were present because they're not used to people like me, or people from my background, or people from my culture, my religion, and those kinds of things. So I got a lot of terrorism jokes.
Sure.
Um,
Sadly,
I
sure.
got yeah, I got a lot of standard terrorism joke. I got jokes about the hijab on my head. I once actually senior year had a boy pull it off my head. Um and
Literal,
literal, yeah. As a joke, quote unquote. I've had people take pictures of me without my consent and post it on Facebook and write things about me. I had all sorts of stuff go on. And so I don't think that I've ever I don't think I've ever had a time where I wasn't afraid that someone was going to say something or do something, even if I felt the most secure. I've even unfortunately had cases where people that I cared about used it against me because they knew it was something that had hurt me, and out of spite, because of situations, have used it against me and things like that. So I automatically, and if anybody goes down that road, I automatically just like remove myself from association, because
yeah.
if you know something like that is going to hurt me, hurt my identity, hurt me as a person, and in any capacity think it's okay to use, I think again.
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
and for the longest time I did let people walk all over me, growing up and things like that. But I think when I started seeing those things um reflected on my brother, who is younger than me, I think it really hit me that if I had done anything to potentially shut it down when I was going through it, maybe it would have been a little bit easier for him growing up. Um, because like we said earlier, even if it's baby steps, making some sort of movement does cause some waves. So like it maybe potentially would have made it a little bit easier. But he also had me to back him up when it did happen. So I'm glad that I had that ability to speak up for him and things like that. But we still get jokes like that all the time. My mother has been told to go back to her own country more times than I can count. My, my whole family has dealt with numerous amounts of racism, even systemically through like police and things.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so the amount of the amount of things that we've had to endure goes way past the scope of just society in general. But even the forces that are supposed to protect you and things like that have their own amounts of ignorance and things like that towards our people. So you can't really ever find a moment where you feel safe,
Right.
truly. um but no, there's been a lot of it my whole life. And I'm sure there will be plenty more throughout it. So
Yeah, sadly, we probably haven't seen the last of it.
unfortunately, yeah.
But thank you for sharing on that, and thank you especially for touching on the systemic racism, because I definitely don't think that gets talked about a lot. Because while even like the whole like topic of systemic racism is controversial, there's so many people that don't even want to acknowledge that it exists. Let
I think
alone.
sometimes it's
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. I'm sorry. I was just saying, I think sometimes it's just easier for them to ignore the elephant in the room than to address it.
Oh sure, it's easier.
So, but it's not the right way either.
Of
So,
course.
sadly, the
Yeah,
harder route is the right route, but not everybody is willing to take that.
especially when they don't have anything to lose, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, that is a thing. And then like a lot, like even going into that, even if they do believe in systemic racism, there's a lot of people that just assume it doesn't happen to Asian people because of things like the model minority, and like, oh, Asian people don't go through racism, or like they don't have social issues like all the other
Hmm.
minorities do. Um, that is like, yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up,
Yeah.
because one thing is, while I'm in the Pacific Northwest now, I was born and
Hmm.
raised in Arizona,
Yeah.
and rampant racism in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and to the point
Mm-hmm.
where there was a state Senate bill that kind of got national infamy called SB 1070,
Mm-hmm.
which was basically like they made it legal for cops to pull over people for being brown, essentially. Like if you looked anything like a
Which is so
possible
gross.
like illegal immigrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be pulled over. And while I was still pretty young and didn't really, luckily, didn't get any kind of repercussions from that, I remember my aunt, my Palauan Japanese aunt, was pulled over by cops and harassed by cops in
Mm-hmm.
her VW Golf or her VW Jetta, one of those things,
Yeah.
just because she had brown skin, black curly hair, brown eyes, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, a lot of people just don't acknowledge that stuff happened like that. And like again, this is like 10-15 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people like to act like, things like that just doesn't happen nowadays, or it's like, that's like part of our history, not part of our present.
I think it's also very crazy when people see it now, post COVID, because the amount of like crime against Asians went up. Only now did they somewhat notice, and even then, there isn't much rallying or any sort of like support for people getting attacked on a daily basis because of it. And it's like it's crazy to me that post COVID is when they noticed that these kinds of things were taking place. This stuff has been present through our entirety, like the entirety of our lives,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
pre-existing before it.
Yeah.
So it's insane to see like that it's getting some like discovery now, but even then it's very very little discovery, and it's only really a big deal when it makes the news.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and even then it becomes about the other person who caused it, not about the people who were affected by it.
Right.
So it's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, spotlight's just in the completely wrong place.
Literally.
And would anybody else like to speak up on any of their experiences?
Yeah, I'll go. So experiencing discrimination. I mean, I'm turning 30 this year, so it's been pretty prevalent throughout my entire life. School especially, I was taught at I think in second grade to never ever put that we speak a different language at home. Um,
Ah.
yeah, because one incident, like I'm terrible at math. I know I'm in STEM, but like I'm still terrible at math. You know, like, but like I never got help for math. I only got put mandatory in ESL constantly. Um, and it really sucked because like even in second grade, like first grade, I was already into like RPGs and stuff, so like my reading level was already at a high school level.
Sure.
But nobody would listen to me. Like even if I'd score like 100 and extra credit points on their ESL test, they're just like, well, we don't believe you. Which really sucks. So my grandpa, who is like my step grandpa, he's white.
Sure,
my
sure,
my real
sure.
grandpa, my
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
grandpa died before my mom was born. So he just like stepped in. He's like, do not put Thai on any of those forms. It's a trap. So
Right.
yeah, yeah, and that's that. And then like throughout my entire life, like I've been called like I'm not a real Asian because I'm brown. Um,
Oh my god, the
like
colorism.
Oh my god,
yeah.
yes.
Which really sucks because that also came from other like Asians as well.
Yep.
Sometimes, not all the time, like a lot of people, most of the time, we're pretty cool, like with each other and stuff. Like I'd be like the only Thai person in the entire like county, so like hanging out with them, talking about anime and stuff, always was really nice. But I've been called like not an Asian, jungle Asian, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been at Game HQ, like it's almost like Game HQ or like other places I used to go to for like tabletop places. That was a long time ago. I moved away from that area a long time ago. Where people almost seemed disappointed that I wasn't Japanese or Korean, which really sucked.
Oh, you're
'cause
not my
it's not.
favorite kind of Asian. Damn it.
Yeah, and they were just like disregard me, or they'd call me like shit skin or something.
Goddamn.
At the
Mm.
tabletop places for like Magic the Gathering play, like stuff like that.
No.
Yeah.
Not the Magic the Gathering players. God damn it. They ruined Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. Like it just made it really hard because like all I wanted to fucking do was play like TTRPGs. Like I
Yeah.
just wanted to play D&D, and it's just like I just never really had like I just felt like I was invisible. Like not I have not received help in school like throughout like from kindergarten to 12th. Not a single teacher has helped me because they believe that I was faking it when it came to math.
Mm-hmm.
And it really sucked because they're just like I got all the I got every like I just got shit for being Asian. Like
Yeah.
100%. Just like I never got any of like the model minority anything. Like well
Right.
actually well no, yeah, like cuz they expected me to be good at math,
Right,
but
that's
they
part of
also
it, for
didn't
sure.
yeah, they also didn't see me as Asian. So it's just like but they also treated me like I should know math better. So
Right.
anytime I'd ask for tutoring help, like I never ever like I cannot recall a single time where I have ever gotten tutoring help at all.
That's just wild.
I
Yeah,
I
like
cannot
definitely,
understand. That's just
I
insane.
definitely,
mhm.
yeah, I definitely have a lot of love for like my melanated Asians because y'all get the Asian hate and like the melanated hate.
Yep,
So like you guys
absolutely.
have way too much, and the amount of like colorism in our own cultures is crazy.
All of
Like
it.
if you are not like this beautiful like white Asian person, it's like the world is over. The amount of
I
people
was literally
that
about to bring
I
that up.
the amount of people that I know that have had to like deal with their family trying to get them to like bleach their skin or some shit and like lighten their like skin tone and things like that because they or don't go outside if you tan too easy. Like
Yep.
I tan easy.
Yep.
So like I would have family members tell me all the time not to go outside
Yep.
because I would get very very tan. And mind you, I love a tan. I prefer it on myself. But I know like so many people would just kind of be like, don't go out so much, you're gonna get too dark. And then if you get too dark, it's like, oh my god, it's like the world's over.
Literally.
Oh yeah, that was a problem I didn't realize was a problem until I actually got into the workforce.
Yeah.
Because I was just talking to like my boss, like she's great, like or my boss, she was great. I'm still friends with her, but like we would just be like shooting the shit at the end of the day. And I was like, oh yeah, like I had kind of a skin bleaching problem, and she just like the look on her face was just sad, like
Mhm.
mortified. Like she just looked at
Yeah.
me like, what do you mean you had a skin bleaching problem? And I was like, yeah, I would bleach my skin, and she just like couldn't answer, like she couldn't say anything. She was so shook.
Yeah, you couldn't
And
even
then I
grasp the concept.
realized, yeah, and then I realized, oh, that's actually weird. Like that's actually
Yeah.
not good. Like, and that was like when I was like 21, so like a
Mhm.
significant amount of time had passed, and like I was still young, but geez.
I think because of the colorism, it's so normalized for us, but for other people outside of the culture who don't know about that aspect, it's definitely like a culture shock because they're just kind of like, well, you do what now?
Like they don't think it
um,
happens in our culture, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
our people are just like, oh my god, do this. You need to lighten your skin. You need to, lose weight. You need to do
Yeah.
this. You need to fix your appearance this way. Fix your appearance that way. If you don't do this, you're not desirable.
Literally. Like in some ways I feel like it's like colorism is almost worse in some cultures. Like the way they dehumanize
Mm-hmm.
people with dark skin, or like
Oh
there's like
yeah,
they typify them, or there's like a freaking slang word for them or something, which is
yeah, it's insane.
often a slur. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, and like just like you said earlier, like if you don't fit into somebody's idea of that like no white skin, Eastern Asian Han person with
Skinny, like,
yes, like very
yeah.
thin, petite, long, flowing black hair, then you're not Asian. It's like you literally
Mm-hmm.
mentioned like 10% of the entire population, my guy. What are you doing?
Yeah.
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 It's sad because like I noticed that like a lot of Thai VTubers like don't normally like I'm kind of like the outlier. I'm kind of like against the norm because a lot of Thai VTubers will have moon pale type skin tone.
Hmm?
But that's not what a lot of us look like
Mm-hmm.
usually, not without like a significant amount of like intervention with like not going outside, parasol, skin bleaching, which is
Yeah,
dangerous by the way. Please
cosmetics.
don't do
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes me kind of sad, but like I know it's like it's been a huge prevalent thing in our culture. There's like a lot of like internalized colorism and shame um
Mm-hmm.
that comes with it. It just yeah, it's not fun.
And it's crazy like how much those kind of seep into like media and like general like world stuff too. Cause like for instance, like if you take a look at like art, there's this thing where like I feel like a lot of people, especially like people that are melanated, it's very like hard for you guys to find artists who can accommodate for that. And that's why I've noticed so many VTubers who are melanated have like whitewashed characters because it's so much easier to find a character like somebody who can make your character that way than it is to find somebody who's willing to put in the effort to make your character the way that it should be represented. And to me, that is insane.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, I've
the amount of
definitely
underrepresentation overall.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not fun. It's not fun
Yeah.
because like I've definitely like when I first started out, which I've started pretty recently, like in
Mm-hmm.
October of
No.
2022. But like
Mm-hmm.
I've already like the first commission I got, I've already been whitewashed. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to be mean or anything. Like I'm not the type of person to like start a stink like that. But I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
damn.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, I don't want to overtake, but that same thing happened to me.
Yeah. No, but I love that you guys have like the like your representation of like your skin tone and your features that you want to have and things like that. It makes me really happy when like I see people be able to like represent themselves properly, especially like black VTubers and things like that.
Hmm.
Being able to see
Yeah.
them have like their color, like their skin color represented, their like hairstyles represented, their clothing represented, like seeing that pulled through in like actuation and like seeing like the results is always so freaking amazing and satisfying. It blows my mind away how amazing like they look, and it must be such a good feeling too to have like yourself represented the way that you want to be represented. So seeing like you guys have your like skin tones and things like that represented in your own models is like amazing to see. This PNG that I'm actually using right now is a little whitewashed.
Yeah, no,
I'm not gonna
totally.
lie.
That's all right.
But you know, it's the only one that I could find at the moment that worked. So, but no, I really love seeing people like represented the way that they're meant to be represented, and it makes my heart whole
Oh,
seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
And that's part of why I'm glad for like my artist is one of my best friends in like the entire world. I love him to
Hmm.
death. And we worked really hard in order to get all these design details because my brain cell just says, "Hey, no, we have all these things to do." And I'm like, "Oh wait, no, can we work on the skin tone too?" And they're like, "Oh, you get me anything and I will figure this out for you.
Work
I
it out for
got
you,
you."
yeah.
And I'm like, "Thank the lords." It's like it's so nice to be able to be like the way I was. Because I know when I started I had just a Picru PNG and I was like, "You know
Hmm.
what? That's fine because I know like part of my skin tones have been like very volatile and like that's how
Hmm.
part of mine like kind of grew up like I like I can go really pale and then also really tan in like 2 seconds. It's ridiculous.
depends on the
Hmm.
From
season,
just
right?
like yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, yep, all right, it's time to be darker this season." And it's just like, for a lot of that, it was like was in a lot of ways very grateful for the way I grew up that I'd never experienced so many like of the more blatant things, maybe some backhanded comments here and there that
Hmm.
I thoroughly stomped out because it's just a bunch of kids that don't know what they're talking about. And I'm like, all right, dog, you do you. I'm gonna go over here and absolutely own you in everything that you've done.
Yep.
So that's fine. Like I can look past that. It's just a bunch of dumb kids, right?
Hmm.
But a lot of the things about like skin tone and stuff, I just remember thinking is like, yeah, I tan a lot easier than a lot of my family because we used to go to the beach a lot, and it's just I was like, oh, I'm seeing things like my sister always talking about oh getting a tan and how nice it is that I get tan so easily, and I was just like, it's a small thing, but that kind of like mild encouragement, even though it's not something that like she necessarily intended, just it's just nice to
That
know. Just like
accidental euphoria.
yeah, it's just like oh, okay, pug. Well, I'll take this.
Dub. Take this dub. Pocket this dub.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And
Hmm.
it is good to hear those, just like those parts where it's like, yeah, we've all been through like really bad discrimination, but in a way we've been able to turn it around and like kind of be proud of ourselves for the same things that people tried to hate on us for.
I think sometimes it's trials like that that really push you to appreciate it. Like it sucks to have to go through like all the racism and all the comments and all the arrogance and ignorance and all those things, like all the bad things. Obviously they suck and you don't want to have to go through them, and hopefully we can get to a point where our other generations don't have to deal with it as much like we did. But it's also one of those things where it almost pushes me now to be prouder of who I am
Mm-hmm.
and be less shamed by the fact that I am part of this culture. And it kind of gives me this newfound appreciation and acceptance of myself. Um, that definitely was hard to grasp before. And I'm not saying it's directly like a result of the bullying and things like that that I received growing up, but it was more so that I was able to push past that and accept myself and my culture and the unique parts of myself that everybody used to shame me for. I now realize that those are the strongest parts of myself and parts that I should be putting out there and that I should be proud of.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's like, haha, joke's on you. You didn't kill me, so you made me stronger.
exactly.
Very much for those answers. It's very, very
Hmm.
well, very good discussion.
Yeah.
Um, so the last question that we have for the night is, what are some ways that you think people can help stop AAPI hate, and in any way, whether it be, just like pointing out like certain microaggressions, or even like
Hmm.
um how people can be more active or just more aware, anything like that. Any almost like it doesn't even have to be like specifically just like how to directly stop hate, but like even like a general message you might want to give to people just about you know anything to do with well.
I think that a big part of working towards like minimizing AAPI hate is to definitely like take the time to like do your research. Like um take the time to learn a little bit more about AAPI and what that means and who that entails. And if you see any sort of hate, maybe sometimes if you feel comfortable, because I know sometimes that can be like a hard thing and sometimes we can handle ourselves too, but if you ever see an opportunity where you can step in and stop it, or like say something to stop it, more like, that's always appreciated. But definitely like reading up and kind of gaining that knowledge and kind of understanding more, because I know that there's a lack of understanding sometimes, and I think the more you educate yourself about AAPI and and everything that that entails and the kind of things that we have to deal with, that can definitely help.
Oh yeah, well said.
Yeah, I think one of the very first things that I put in my rules after like reorganizing all my stuff and actually taking streaming seriously, because I've had like a Twitch account since like 2013. Like it's a long, I feel old even though I'm definitely not. But it's a lot of times it's not hard to be a decent human being. Just
Yeah.
listen to people. It's so simple. And I've never
Mm.
understood how people can like go through the thought process of being like, I am absolutely correct. And I'm like, well, actually, no.
Hmm.
Please just listen to the person who actually knows what they're talking about.
Mhm.
Uh,
Google is free as well.
Yeah, it's like, we have the internet. Please just like one good Google search would do that.
no,
Like,
totally.
Yeah.
that's the one skill in schools that you've learned is to use Google. Please do it. Like, you may not
Literally.
remember anything else, you may not remember the Pythagorean theorem or anything else, just please use Google. It's like the one thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like I agree with y'all about if you see something, like say something for real. Like
Hmm.
if you are in like a position of power where you can change the outcome of whatever the hell is happening right in front of you, it helps. Cause I work in IT, right? And I go on site and it's like I have gotten ignored. I've been left hanging with my handshake, like nobody will shake my hand
Hmm.
and they will out
Hmm.
like give me a shakedown. Like you couldn't possibly work in STEM. You couldn't possibly work in IT. You couldn't possibly go into the server closet. But like it just sucks because I can't do my job, right? Like I can't
Literally
like
making
And
money.
it's
literally yeah.
probably like a double-edged like sword kind of thing too, because not only do you have the fact that like you're a minority in the case that like you're Asian, but you're also a woman, and being a woman in STEM is hard enough as is because
Mhm.
most of those fields are male led, and so if you're female in that field, you're often very disregarded. You could literally give somebody advice and they won't listen, and a male peer could say, or like a male coworker could say it, and they'll listen to that person.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
like you kind of have it hard in both aspects that you're a woman, but you're also a minority.
Yeah.
And so you kind of got the like both of those, worlds.
Yeah, no,
So
definitely. It just like it's really nice because like instead of spending like, 10 to 20 minutes trying to explain to this like dude that I'm supposed to be here and I'm not breaking in to try to steal something, I could have,
mhm.
one of my ally coworkers stand up and say something and then like embarrass the dude instead. And then
Yeah.
it's a good learning lesson like for them.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's nice. Like yeah, I definitely agree with saying something. Like it might be
Mhm.
uncomfortable, but like just imagine how uncomfortable it is for the person that is
Just going through
experiencing
it.
that microaggression, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Literally.
I think
That's
like another
oh,
huh?
sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying like another thing besides like research is like if you don't want to take the time to like 100% research everything out because it is a broad topic, you could definitely also really start by talking to the people in your general vicinity or in your circle that may be of AA like that are of AAPI uh background,
Background.
so
Yep.
that way kind of like a lot of the stuff that we go through, we don't always talk about. It's a lot of stuff that we keep to ourselves. Like, for instance, my family never knew that I endured like all the bullying that I endured until I was an adult. And then they were like, why didn't you say something? A lot of the times when we go through stuff like that, we don't talk about it. And it's one of those things where if you take the time to sit down and you really want to know and you talk to us about it, one, we're willing to talk about it, but also you get a firsthand look at all the things that you miss in like general everyday that happen that you just don't notice because it's not something that directly affects you.
Exactly.
And so if you take the time to talk to somebody, especially somebody that you care about that's in your circle and they kind of get to explain to you what they go through, you get a better general idea of the time, like the kind of things that we have to deal with. And then you can kind of help do your best to speak up or prevent it or do whatever that you can to like help out the AAPI community as a whole because like I said, baby steps are a big deal.
Yep. Yeah. No. The only thing I was gonna say is touching on a lot of what you all have said. I think a couple key steps to kind of unlearning all that hatred and racism is I think first step is like empathy, because
Hmm.
before anyone's even gonna want to even learn about a topic, because you can't force anyone to learn anything. So
Yeah.
before they even want to learn a
Exactly.
topic, they have to like understand that there is a difference, and not they have to understand both the duality of like we are all people regardless, but there is a difference in our lives and experiences. Those need to be
Hmm.
respected and well. And I think
Yeah.
only after that step would people even consider, one, listening to somebody with those lived experiences, or two, taking the initiative to do their own intellectual labor, right?
Hmm.
Exactly.
Because going into that, it's not at the same time as where a lot of people are probably happy to help you and answer a lot of these questions and tell you a lot about their experiences, it's also not up to them to do so. It's not up
Hmm.
to AAPI people to teach you about AAPI culture and how not to hate them.
Yeah.
And going into that again, going into another point even that you all have already touched on, is that even after you get there and you realize that there's these differences and that this racism happens and that there are these problems, you then have to realize that again, like, we're not the ones being listened to about our own problems.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be somebody of the majority demographic to stand up and say, hey, we have to change. It's not a problem of them having to be louder, it's us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not, the minorities don't oppress themselves. We don't go out and say like, hey, treat us differently, hey, make sure
Mm-hmm.
that we're, getting disadvantages on almost every aspect of society, and then we can continue our day. Like,
Yeah.
that's literally not happening.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's just a lot of points I think people can take depending on what step, or like, like what level or tier system, like where they are at in that process, in that journey. I think there's a lot people can still learn regardless of how far they've already gone.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to divulge your experiences and the things that have happened, and speak on your opinions about how to stop it, because while I think ultimately it is up to people of the majority demographic to speak up and be heard and let people know that these changes need to be made, they're not going to do it unless we speak up first. And so, I really appreciate you all, like, again, putting yourselves out there, being vulnerable, and taking the time to help let more people know what is happening and how it
Mm-hmm.
is actually going down.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that I got to be a part of today. And that my
Yeah,
plans,
same here.
fell through the way that they did. Because no, like I said, I even told you in DMs, like I don't really get a chance to talk about these kinds of things. So, being able to be in a position to even talk about it to a platform in general is a big deal. And I think it's definitely also taught me to be more open about it in general in other like ways than just this one stream.
Sure.
Because like I said, I still have some sort of like carefulness when I talk about these kinds of things, but I think being more open about it is definitely something that I'm learning. And being able to kind of voice my own stuff in this setting here, I think has definitely also taught me to just be better about voice in general.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad you were able to make it too. You've
Me,
been a
yeah.
fantastic guest. And
Thank you,
all of
thank
you,
you.
let me say that. Like, thank you, all of you, for making, every single one of you have brought something to the table very unique and valuable that has really contributed to this entire stream, this entire conversation. And I like to think that all of your stories will help other people, will help inspire other people, whether it be fellow AAPI people who be themselves more, have the courage to be themselves and put themselves out more, or even non AAPI people who are now learning a little bit more about our cultures and our
Hmm.
experiences. Because I definitely learned something about you guys for sure, and your cultures.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's invaluable for real.
I'm just glad to have found people to talk about, all of our shared experiences, because it's crazy how different everyone's experiences are, but how very similar the feelings behind those experiences and things that we face are. And some of it sucks that we have to relate on that, like in the ways that we have, like on the negatives. But
Right.
also I'm really glad that we have the positives to relate on too.
It's awesome
It
that
just
we're
feels
strong when we
nice.
shouldn't have to be strong.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's like it's just really nice to talk to people about the general like gist of our cultures, but also like the shared experiences. Because like even in a normal setting, I don't think I ever really talk about that kind of stuff with people. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that are part of the AAPI group that have similar issues as to and good experiences like we do, but it's just not talked about.
Yeah, very,
So
very little, if at all.
yeah.
And thank you very much. Would anybody else like to have any like final statements or anything else they'd like to say before we start to wrap up into an outro?
I think I'd also just kind of like to say that it's been really nice to just have this opportunity and have this moment,
Mhm.
because it, even though it's not like something that we may always talk about, or something that will just be in the back of our minds for a little bit, and here and there we'll be like, oh, maybe now's a good time. And I think that's absolutely fine. And it's been nice to talk about stuff that sparks joy and things that keep us like moving forward, keep us like going on, what makes us like stick to things even though it makes it harder or doesn't make it harder. That every part of our experiences have been valid and it's okay to be who you are is just something that I've always like stood for and lead my life because there's no one who knows what's important to you more so than you. So please just
Mhm.
let that be something that always sticks in your brain.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, well said. Yeah, we can definitely honor everybody's truths, even though if those
Mhm.
truths are different.
I think in general to anybody else in the AAPI group that struggles, just know that your struggles are valid and how you feel is valid, and it's okay to take it one day at a time and slowly work on having more acceptance for yourself, and also working on slowly, finding, your happy place, because you should be proud of who you are, you should be proud of your culture, you should be proud of everything that you are and everything that you entail, because you're you and that's unique no matter what. And also I would just like to state thank you, Manta, for being a wonderful host, and thank you to both of you for also having wonderful conversation. This has been such a pleasant experience for me, and I'm definitely taking a lot away from this, so
Same here.
Awesome, and you're very welcome. I'm really glad I could put something like this together. I've been wanting to since I've been streaming, which is like over 2 years
Mhm.
now. I just
Yeah,
never thought, I had neither the platform nor the courage, and even now I feel like I have a super small platform and following and stuff. So the fact that you would, just be interested in coming onto my stream and like giving me a
of
chance
course.
and stuff like that, I really do appreciate it. And
I
this definitely
mean,
won't be the last.
heck yeah. No, panels like this have a way of being scary sometimes because you don't know what all they can entail. It's kind of like you have an idea of like what the talk is going to be about, and you have curated questions and things like that, but you just never know.
It's like the
So I
kimchi.
can, yeah. So it's just overwhelming until you do it, and then you do it, and then you're like, man, I'm really glad I did it.
You know what? I think this is gonna
Um,
give me the confidence to make kimchi.
do it. I believe in you.
I'm gonna
Pop
try
off. When I try it, I'll let you know how it goes.
it. That's awesome. Thank you so much again. Thank you, all of you.
Yeah.
I do want to say, anonymous. What the hell? Hold up. I was gonna say thank you for the $20 donation you did a while ago. I did see that. I'm sorry I didn't say anything when it happened. We did unlock a gosh, I totally remember what my own charity goals are. Uh, Chat makes a redeem on that $20 donation. Anonymous, I wish I could also help you, get the incentives, but if I don't know who you are, I don't know who to talk to offer all the praises and stuff. But Anonymous, and then again now a $50 donation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I literally thought that I would have a hard time raising $100 between both streams, and we have hit $570. That is
Let's
absolutely
go.
goddamn wild. This is my first charity stream. You guys are
That's
insane.
amazing.
Literally, like, oh my god. And again, thank you AADAP. Thank you to the Asian American Drug Abuse Program and then all of your representatives for reaching out to me and giving me a chance to even be a representative for your AAPI Heritage, fundraising event. I really wish I had more time to spend promoting their charity event and their stream, because I am one of literally like 100 creators they got to come together and help like raise money for this cause.
Mhm.
You guys have been a huge help in being a part of that, and just like again helping me, bring back to that community. And like all of you have had a part of this, whether you're a guest, a viewer, a lurker, a donor, like all of you. I really appreciate you. You're all amazing, and thank you so much. Catching up with chat, thanks you guys for doing this. Learned a lot from the point of view of an African American. That is so cool. I really love that. I really love that we could reach non-AAPI people as well, because sharing cultures and differences, and like again even with other minority people who probably share very similar experiences just from a different perspective and viewpoint. I think it's important to kind of acknowledge those similarities that we have together, because
Mhm.
again, like the Asian American Pacific Islander identity actually like came about in the 60s and 70s because the Asian Americans were um collaborating with African Americans as well, because we were we were getting the same shitstorm from the same people, and we
Mhm.
realized, hey, we're a lot stronger together than we are apart. And that is still true to this day, and it's really awesome that, you know, again, we
There's
can get this kind
um,
of outreach.
there's a lot of overlap, like a lot of overlap, not just in AAPI cultures, but in cultural, like in within lots of minorities and like their cultures and things like that. There's a lot of overlap in shared experiences and like a lot of the things that we face within our own cultures, but also outside of our own cultures.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, sovereign, exactly. Unity. That is what will get us out of this, for real.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, well shoot, I guess hold on, I guess I have to acknowledge this $50 donation because that bumps us up into community movie night and
Let's go.
the Microsoft Paint art stream.
Let's
Let's
go.
My first
go.
art stream ever. You guys are gonna get some of the best PNGs you've ever done seen.
Let's
Just
go.
come to the stream, be in chat, and I'll draw your face. I'll do my
Oh my
best to make
gosh.
it like a really fleshed out stick figure. It's gonna be great.
We love that.
Thank you all again for stopping by. I think this is a great time to end it. I don't think we have any raffles or anything to get to. So once again, let me actually get this collab command out. I totally forgot to, you know, put those out there. You know, if maybe some of the viewers would like to check out some of our wonderful guests today. Again, from left to right, we have the wonderful Hellfiber, Safiria, and Teso. Thank you again, everybody. Really appreciate it. We are going to find somebody to raid, and I have a lot of targets. I just haven't figured out who yet. I'm gonna be super impulsive. You know, why don't we try to stick with the whole AAPI theme here and try to find a streamer. The only problem with VTubers is if they openly say they are, it's kind of hard to know if they are or not. So that being said, our raid target is going to be Baka Noemi, since I know for a fact
Ooh.
they are AAPI because they were a guest on the last stream last week.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it seems they are streaming inside the back room, so all you horror lovers, you know, enjoy that.
Oh.
Get this raid command going. Got raid messages for our subs, raid messages for our followers and everybody else. Thank you again. You guys have honestly made a stream goal or stream dream of mine come true. Thank you again. Happy AAPI Heritage Month, and we will see you next time. Bye bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.